But sick. Well, this is the Vulture House, and I've got DJ, I've got Jay, I've got John, and I've got Rich, and it's the Sawtooth Grin. Holy crap!
Wow.
I'm blown away. I'm blown away. I'm grateful that you guys are here, and for those listening, this will be coming out on Halloween. So happy Halloween to everybody out there. It's a beautiful Halloween because
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. We have a brand new Sawtooth Grin album. And I know it's been out there in the world, this idea of getting this for some time. And then things started happening on Instagram where I was seeing John Carroll play drum parts and Jay was involved and people were talking and there was people sending me links. Like people were so happy. I was getting links on Instagram being like, do you see John and Jay there making stuff? I'm like, oh, interesting. So we got to watch over the last, I don't know, a year or so. You guys maybe 3 years, 4 years, 11, a decade.
End of 2018.
How many fingers you got?
That's crazy. So I guess if it's 4 or 5 years ago, what was the spark that then became good with a period?
Yeah. It's pronounced good.
Good. Did I say it right? Good.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's very specific.
What made it spark 4 or 5 years ago that you were eventually actually going to do this now?
I'm going to let Jay start that story.
All right. Well, I hadn't spoken to either of these guys in a number of years, and as I don't know, maybe like 10 or 20 people remember that like we tried to do something around 2010, 2011. For a variety of reasons, that just didn't work out, and the whole thing went like kind of radio silent for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, something like that. I'm not really too sure. And so I got my head back above water at some point and just started to kind of like reach out, and I just started having this idea, and I like at some point there's an idea in the past of like repressing Cuddle Monster on vinyl. And there was an artist who was involved in that, and like long story short, I started to like reach out to that guy and say like, hey, what do you think about like doing this stuff again?
Is that Nick Vessel? Is that who you're
this
talking
about? This is this guy Keith Carlson.
Oh.
Keith Carlson was doing the artwork originally for the repress, and
cool.
When I contacted him, he said like, dude, somebody's already doing that, like, are you not aware of it? And I was like, I don't know. So
shit.
He forwarded me over to Nick at Wax Vessel, who said that he had been in touch with Rich and like no one knew how to get in touch with me, which totally checks out, granted the state of affairs, where I had been and what I had been up to wasn't too easy to get in touch with me, So I don't remember who reached out to who, but like me and Rich became aware of each other, being aware that each other was aware of this thing was happening again. And I had just, got in touch with John again after, I don't know how many, 4, 5, 6, 7 years.
Something like that.
And so we were all just kind of talking again. And there was just this little bit of like, hey, remember the Sawtooth Grin? Like, remember, like we used to do that kind of stuff. And I was like writing some stuff and, throwing some stuff around, and, me and John just being, fans of each other, just started kicking some ideas back and forth. And it very slowly started to, accrue into, hey, wait a second, maybe this.
Let me interject and mirror back that sentiment from my perspective. So what he's describing is, a little on their end, they're getting some interest in the re-release of Cuddle Monster and sort of thinking about that. And he's sort of reaching out to me to see where I'm at. At that point, I was like, I thought I was at, what was going to be the most hellish chapter of my life. I was in the middle of going bankrupt and getting divorced, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
fucking, and I don't know, man. I mean, it's rare that I ever have that moment where I'm like, the universe is trying to give me something right now, and throw me a bone. And yeah, and then that was the first couple riffs right in that pocket, and that was like a whole, I don't know, 9 months before then I got spanked and I was in hospital, and they're like, oh, and you got cancer too. So just make sure to do the whole bankrupt, divorce, and cancer thing. Make sure to get that all done in like a 12-month period.
Right. Yeah. At least get it all done quick. You know, like all in one ridiculous.
That's better than spread it out.
Right. Yeah. That's a great way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Damn. So did any of those early riffs that you guys were shooting back and forth in the very beginning make it on this record?
All
Oh
of
yeah.
All of them. All of them.
Sick. Sick.
Yeah, man. I mean, Jay, like, you know, when by the time you called me, he was like, yeah, you know, I may or may not have been sleeping in a public park for the last several years, but it's cool, man. You know, like, I have a guitar, so
That's it. That's
like,
it.
how are you doing up there? And I'm like, I have a drum set. That's what I have left, honestly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I have so much to say about these songs, but just
And
to go
all
off
of the
what you were
riffs
just
from that
saying,
whole area, all of them made it.
It's amazing because so much of these songs sound like you guys are just like, it's catharsis, like so much. It's so wild to hear these songs, because I always tell people I had this weird fantasy of picking up a stranger and them asking me, what's your favorite music? And I get to say, oh, it's Please Shit All Over Me. I love it. And then I can go in the car and play Cuddle Monster and then kind of talk them through the Sawtooth Grin. So that's basically what I'm just turning this podcast into, is I'm gonna basically drop this in everyone's inbox and be like, this is like my favorite band. And thinking of like how important it is, just have your guitar, just have your drums. A very early memory I have of Jay is at the Rec Room, and it was the first time my old band was playing with you guys, and it was like a big moment, you know. For us, it was everything.
Rec Room in Walden?
Which Rec Room? Yeah, there's like
Walden.
many.
Yes. Is there more than one Rec Room? Holy shit.
There's one in, like, one of the craziest shows I ever been to was a Rec Room in Wayne, New Jersey, where it was Candiria, Dillinger, ISIS, and a SWAT team showed up, and there was like, it was like an FSU versus NYHC, like, you know, just it was on the news. It was fucking bananas. But that's besides the point.
I know. I wish I was at that show. I love.
That's what bands used to perform for gang fights.
That's what it was.
What
You were the soundtrack to the gang
soundtrack
fight.
for fighting.
Yes,
That's all that was. Yeah.
I miss so much going to shows and fearing a band as much as the audience.
Yeah. That was every Candiria
Don't
game.
tell these guys that. Yeah. Don't tell Rich and Jay that. That's like, you just gave them a license to kill.
Good. Well, we'll get to that, but I want to go back to these songs. But then my memory of Jay is, so it was like our first time seeing you as like we were playing with you guys, and we were there early. And Jay, you were sitting outside of this like the shitty bar. You might have been smoking cigarettes. You had your guitar with you and a piece of paper in front of you, and it was covered in numbers. And I was nervous to talk to you. And I said, hey man, what's that? He said, it's the next Sawtooth song. I was like, oh wow, that's amazing. And it was just like, it looked like hieroglyphics to me. So
it's like a beautiful mind.
It was on some other shit. I was like trying to bring my other band members. I'd be like, do you see that? What? Take a picture. I don't think we even had cameras on our phones at that point, but it was such a great moment. That whole
I don't
show.
think Jay's ever even listened to the band Tool, even once. I don't think he even knows.
Dude, he running circles around. No, I love Tool, but seeing, I think that's how I always see you as writing riffs. I don't know if that's how it is or how that's how you do it now, but seeing you piece together this like hieroglyphic puzzle, I was amazed. And then the other thing that happened that night was I got to see Rich, and I tell this story a lot when I'm talking about Sawtooth, and I'm sure you've heard me say it, but people were heckling you guys on the stage.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
For those who don't know the Rec Room in Walden, New York, it was this crappy dive bar where people would show up not expecting to ever hear music, and then the Sawtooth Grin appears. And then,
where's Walden again? Like what? Is that like Florida, New York?
It's like Florida, Orange County,
near Newburgh, yeah,
Orange County. Yeah.
Okay,
Orange
closer to Poughkeepsie and.
I think maybe south there, on the other side of the river, kind of in like the boonies.
That's its own culture out there.
It was, and these older people were very upset at the sound that Sawtooth Grin was making.
Not surprised.
And Rich, do you remember this?
Yeah, of
You
course I remember
do
it.
you remember what they said? Do you remember what they said and what you said back to them?
I remember spitting at them. I don't know if I remember what I said exactly. What did I say exactly?
I remember them saying something rude. I don't know what it was, as you guys were so loud. And then you said it's hard to hear. I think it's hard to hear you talk with the dick in your mouth.
Oh,
It was
Yeah.
it was so fast. I was like,
It is
holy
hard to
shit.
hear when it's like that.
It's very muffled. That's very muffled. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard to enunciate with a cock in the old.
She did take it out.
Sprinkle, can you know? Can you say what the rest of the? Can we say what the rest of the joke is without getting in trouble?
Oh yeah. No,
Oh, what? How the guy was just called Rich a faggot?
Oh, yeah. That
Yeah.
I mean, that
Say
happened
that
a
word?
lot. That happened a lot.
That happened at
back
that
then.
show. Man.
No, so
well,
this is how I remember this going down. Is the guy was a fucking NASCAR,
yeah.
homeboy
Yep.
at the show, and he was just happy. He was doing the Freebird, play fucking Freebird, and Rich was like, Rich was getting a little fed up at a certain point and
I
trying
have a microphone.
Yeah, it's like I got a mic. I'm gonna zing this guy.
Yeah,
So Rich, bam! Oh, glad you could fucking get the dick out of your fucking mouth long enough to say that shit. And the guy reports with basically oh yeah, well you're a faggot. And he's like Barney from The Simpsons, and then he probably passed out. But
yeah, he probably died in
the whole
urinal
point of the
cake.
story is the look that Rich then shot Jay, which killed Jay. It just ended his life. Rich just looked at him. He's like, can't argue with that. Wham!
Oh man,
Yeah.
I love
Wow. Can't
I love it.
believe
that spirit. So that's the spirit of that exact moment, and the way these songs sound is this. And I think I've heard Rich say this before. It's the spirit of the sound that you guys make is like spite and antagonism.
yeah.
And-
Very antagonistic.
And yeah, these new songs are very antagonistic. Where do you think that comes from? Why do you want to antagonize people? I like being antagonized.
These two guys are the most antagonistic people.
Where
I
does
know.
that? Why? For
They
some,
they
why? I
run
love
on
it.
spite. Like spite tears other people down. Other people, they carry around the anger, those feelings, the grudges. It's wearing them down. All that baggage. They got to cry it out.
It's like food.
These guys, it metabolizes into pure protein.
So
pure
I have two
caffeine / protein.
two literary sources for you that will best illustrate really the whole sort of point of it. And the first one is really just a book title that I came across throughout my years and years and years and years of working in bookstore retail. And the title of the book, well, the book was chronicling the rivalry between two North Carolina universities and their basketball teams. And the title of the book was "To Hate Like This Is to Be Happy Forever."
Yes.
Which is a really beautiful sentiment that I said, well, I don't give a shit about college basketball, but this applies to a lot of stuff. If you could really stretch this across. This is a nice blanket concept, for a whole approach to whatever it is you want the approach to be. And in my case, it's going to be making a racket. The other thing that I want to cite is, and Jay's going to know exactly what I'm talking about here, but it's the book Choosing Death, The Improbable History of Death Metal and Grindcore, which is a book.
I have it somewhere behind me.
I have it as well, so somewhere downstairs. But there's a chapter in that book where they interview a few of the original members of Napalm Death. And I say original because, as everybody knows, there are no original members left in Napalm Death. Right. So I think that this was an interview with their original drummer, who I think went by the name Rat Boy or something. I don't know off the top of my head, but something with rats. But anyway, they were talking to him about, what was really sort of the nucleus of the band, what got it going, and he was rattling off all his favorite bands from that era, and a lot of people will argue that Napalm Death are the grandfathers of grindcore. And it's kind of difficult to argue that point when you really trace the timeline of it. So, you know, they're citing all of these sort of like early punk bands, early hardcore bands, you know, like just the bands that were snotty and obnoxious and making a racket. And he was talking about how much he loved all these bands and how much all the Napalm guys loved all these bands. And he was just like, yeah, we loved them so much. And all we could think about was how badly we wanted to destroy them. And I said, yeah. I get that. Like, that makes sense to me, you know?
Yep.
So I think that for me, music as an act of antagonism has always kind of, I don't know, I've always felt like kindred to that. You know, I always felt like that was, you know, if I was capable of making a pleasant sound, maybe I would, but I'm not. So
I just want to piggyback on what you said, and I've had many epiphanies through this project, and so many Big Bang moments. But to conflict and compete against someone you love,
yeah,
your interlocutor, it makes you feel like two fucking running bucks, like competing to be them best selves. And,
yeah, well,
that's how I
go for it.
Two riding bucks.
Yeah, the opposite of.
I want to get that tattooed on my back.
Constantly trying to rut with you guys, you know.
I was just gonna say the opposite of love isn't hate; it's indifference. And so, like, hate and love are really like the same thing. You know, like you can't hate something that you don't respect and want to deal with. You know?
Yeah,
the opposite of rutting is getting killed.
That's
I
so
like
true.
that, DJ. The opposite of love is indifference. I think that's beautiful. That's perfect, man.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
So if you hate, you're still caring about it.
I don't want indifference.
Yeah.
I don't want people to feel that way about this. I want people to really love it, and I want people to really hate it, and I will always feel that way.
Yes.
100%. I love the hate. I love hate more than love. Give me the lamb goat comments all day.
Oh, dude.
Oh, dude, totally.
Van Flit. Yeah.
The fucking that makes me think of like DJ's comments about indifference. That's where that's where my antagonism comes from towards, like, you know, other people making similar music, and my own personal, like, musicianship sort of beliefs that have evolved over, like, the last, like, 15 years or so, like, where as things started to get more and more I don't know, technical. I really fucking hate that term, you know, but that's how people who listen to this sort of music, like, that's the way they would describe, you know, that's a word that they would use. So it's like, as that sort of thing started to ramp up, and there was just this, like, silly, like, you know, Cold War arms race, like, of just, like, how many notes that we could all jam together in one song that all sound stupid together, or, like, just are not thought out, or not whatever. It's just like, there's just there's so little thought put into, like, any of these strings of notes that are thrown together that, like, people are being called, people are calling a song. And I don't want to be pointing any fingers or, like, anything like that, but I saw all that stuff going on, and it fucking bummed me out, like, because in this kind of music, to have the focus taken away from, like aggression and, like, viciousness, like, just to focus on, like, look how many fucking notes, like, look at this sweep arpeggio I'm doing, like, it's just, who fucking gives a shit, you know? Who really cares? And, like, I decided at some point, like, I'd rather listen to Botch play the same 3 notes over and over and over again than to, you know, any number of other bands, like, just squeeze in all these you know, all this information just jammed in that, like, amounts to, like, nothing is being said. And there's just so much sound being made now with, like, nothing being communicated. And, like, so I don't know, it strikes me that indifference is, like, at the core of that. And, like, you're just more worried.
I got to jump in, because I hear what you're saying, and I hear the audience that you're targeting that at. But, bro, you know in your heart that you're kind of yelling at your fucking 17-year-old self right now.
I am. Yeah, that's an excellent point. Because, like, as I start to listen more and more to, like, what's going on now in, like, the you know, the relevant scene, I'm being critical of like a lot of choices that some younger people are making that like I made myself. Like Cuddle Monster, I have no idea what's going on that record. I cannot explain any sonic choice that was made beyond like, this looks really cool to play, or like, this is gonna fucking, this is gonna have some sort of effect.
It does look really cool. Some of those riffs look really cool.
If you're trying to connect the spite factor for these two, it's like here Jay is, here Sprinkle is. He's observing the growing trends, the techie.
Yep.
He's getting more and more annoyed. He's like, what the fuck, what is all this form over substance? Somebody ought to fucking and then he starts thinking to himself, when I was a kid, I didn't know any better, so I was doing that shit too. But if you know what to do, you shouldn't be doing that shit. And then all of a sudden he's like, wait a second, I have to take my fucking Sprinkle big cock out and walk, not just talk the talk.
That's it.
I mean, he dug himself because
it's so good because
the one that does it.
Like, Jay, were you having those thoughts at all before like you recorded Cuddle Monster, or is that stuff that you were thinking in the years after?
Bro, that was
This was after, like, while Cuddle Monster was being made, I thought that it was the most important thing that's ever been done in the history of the world.
Well, it is,
and
but
like,
wait a second.
True, true. I mean, that part is true, but because it's funny though, because the antagonism, even on Cuddle Monster, at least in my mind, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not good with technical terms in terms of like making music, but your guitar tone is so different than other people's that in itself is an antagonism, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was
exactly
really antagonistic.
That
was totally
exactly
the point of that.
Yeah,
and here's what happened on that, like because at the time,
like I'm gonna do the whole thing clean channel.
Yeah,
fuck everybody, clean channel.
And it's heavier than everybody else.
A little distortion.
Yeah,
these like the engineer and like the other dudes in bed had to talk me down off a lot of stuff. Like there was a lot of like down tuning happening at the time. I was just like, dude, I'm tuned. I brought my guitar to the studio tuned up to F standard. I was just like, we're gonna tune up. I'm gonna record everything just clean channel. It's just gonna be like the most fucking counterintuitive, like
Your
just
original plan
spiteful
was
thing.
all clean channel.
Yeah, just no distortion.
It's amazing.
So contrarian.
It's so good because
it's in their nature. It's just who they are.
Right. It is.
Can't change it.
Thinking of
I can't believe I would have said no to that. Did I say no to that?
I don't remember who said.
In retrospect, I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea.
You're talking to stained glass?
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Was it DeZuzio? Let's get him in here. What the fuck, Jason?
I'm sure at a certain point he was like, guys, I mean,
no,
there was a song you guys wrote. And then the riff kept getting shorter and shorter. And you and Thomas and Rich kept saying, that riff is too good. I don't want to play it that long because that's too nice to play it that long. And then it got shorter and shorter.
It's too kind.
You just took it out of the song. You're like,
you know what?
Oh, wait.
This riff is so nice. We're not even putting it in the song.
I know exactly. I know exactly what you're talking. It does pop up. It's what wound up getting fleshed out as like Good Touch, Bad Touch, 1, 2, 3. But it got spitefully Satan would sit in the smoking section. It happens for a little tiny bit, and that's because a few weeks prior, our mutual friend Montana Masback offered to buy that riff from me.
Oh, knife and fork.
That's right. And we wanted to put it in the song so he couldn't buy it.
Montana. I feel like
he was in the paragraph. He was in the paragraph.
It was like, if you're not going to use it, then, and you're like, no. The point is that the riff is not going to be used.
I love that someone wanted to buy that riff.
We shortened it.
We're not using it.
We shortened it specifically to spite him, because it's like, no, we're going to use it, and we're not going to.
Now you're catching a glimpse.
Yeah, he was mad about that. He was a little annoyed by that, I think.
He was tight. He offered me like $500 for that riff.
Now,
Montana. Have you ever heard of? Do you know the famous New York City chef David Chang? He has all the fancy restaurants, Mama Fufu.
Oh yeah, I heard of that one.
He's got his cookbook. He's got a Netflix show. He's like the most famous young Asian American badass chef ever.
Right.
His famous thing when they were like, "So what's your secret? How do you get? What gets you up every day? Gets you back on the line, making new menus, figuring it out, dealing with the people, all the headaches, all the purveyors." He's like, spite, anger,
It does though.
That's
It should
what
push
I
you.
got.
It should push you. And it's funny that you guys talk about like the paragraph, shout out to Cosmonaut Records and that little disc that some of us had that Rich sings on literally. I love that. I love that demo.
That's not me.
Yeah. Who's singing on that then?
It's a guy, the original guitar player in the band that died.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Sean Jackson.
I never
Think
knew
Sean
that.
Jackson is the singer on that demo?
He's the no. He's the one that sings that one part, that
Oh my
clean
God.
part.
Wow,
Yeah.
I never
Yeah,
knew
I
that.
was like, what the?
Wow, that's crazy. But your whole like neighborhood, that group seemed to push each other so much. Like,
Yeah,
Sprinkle really
Going-
pushed hard on Sean Jackson, I heard. You know,
yeah, push,
Really?
yeah.
dude, I mean, the going to shows with Number 12 and you guys.
Did he freeze or is that his face?
Wait, what?
sorry.
Am I frozen?
No.
Uh-oh.
You're good. Sorry.
It might
Yeah.
happen. It might happen. If at some point we freeze, we'll just regroup. But
Yeah,
I remember seeing you guys, and it was in a weird way reminding me of like listening to rap in early 90s and thinking of Wu-Tang and Tribe, like kind of competing against each
Mhm.
other. And there was a little hate, but they were pushing each other. I go to an Olives show. I feel like you guys were playing Olives. For those who don't know, Olives was an amazing bar. John, I think you were the one booking all those shows.
No, I wasn't. I was working there.
You were working there.
I was like a barback in
Who booked those shows?
Marianne Olive, the owner of
That
the
would-
bar.
yeah.
Wow.
No, that would be me.
Oh, for real?
Yeah,
was
I
booking
was
those
I was
You
I
were
was
booking on
piecing
her
a lot of-
behalf.
I was piecing a lot of those together. Yeah, I'd get like
Wow.
a bill together and a percher, and she'd feed me the whole line of horse shit, and then we'd work something out.
And
Yeah.
she paid nothing. She would give the most pitiful guarantee and then like renege and make some excuse. But it was like
Hmm.
shows were sick. So nobody.
Oh, so shows were so good. I remember if
Yeah.
we got $20, we were happy.
yeah.
That was the gas it took to get down from Highland Falls. But those shows were so amazing. I remember bands like, and I was just talking to John about Human Bone Bicycle Sciences Industries, and Molasses Tavern.
They broke my PA system. Human
Oh,
Bone
yeah.
Bicycle broke my PA system. They
we
never.
gotta okay. Let's find him because I want to know what that guy's hair looks like now. Remember
God.
that?
That guy can't be alive. He's not alive.
There's no way that guy's alive.
Everyone out there knows what happened.
You
to
have
Human
dreads
Bicycle
forever. It
Sciences.
either turns into like one big dread,
What the mega dread,
or you get this
Yeah.
like, this like tumor that hangs.
the poopy lock.
Oh man, the guy, but he had like one giant, like it was like a mushroom under a beanie that had been stretched out 3
Wait,
or 4
so-
feet wide.
You're talking about that era, early 2000s Olives. DJ, what was going on in your musical life during that era?
I was in college then. I was in New Paltz, just getting fucked up.
But you were in New Balls. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So were you going to shows at Cabalusas? Were those happening? Like heavier shows?
Was
Yeah.
that the 80s night thing we always went to? Cabaloo?
Yeah, 80s night every week,
Yeah.
every Thursday or whatever. We were probably chilling.
Those were good. Like we have great memories of lots of fun shows at Cabs. I don't know, did Sawtooth ever play Cabalusas?
Yeah, it was a rainy night. I remember that. It was very rainy. You guys remember that it was super rainy that night?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that.
That was a fun.
Yeah,
that was a
whoa.
weird and fun place to play. But I want to go back to the songs. And Rich, you said you weren't capable of making pleasant music, which is I think it's funny because I define pleasant differently. I guess to me,
Well, you know, I mean,
no, I know, but to me, it's like these songs are incredibly. I say things are beautiful, and to me, these songs are beautiful.
Oh,
And there's
hey.
moments. I know we all have different interpretations of beautiful, but there's things that happen on whether it's Cuddle Monster or these new songs where you're talking also about not letting the audience have certain riffs for any amount of time. But there are moments where you do that on Cuddle Monster and on this new record. And when it does happen, it's like a release. I'm a crier. I tear up. And those riffs, when they open, I tear up. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm like, this is so
Same.
fucking good. So that's amazing to me. And it reminds me of like my favorite show of all time was The Leftovers, which
Great show.
I
Great
love
show.
that show. And
Excellent.
it's just depressing forever. And then there's like one happy moment and it's just tears. And that's how I feel when I see you guys opening up a riff that you've been like, we've been edging on throughout
A lot of that first season was filmed in Nyack.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did not know
You
that.
can
That's
see Main Street in a lot of those scenes in the first season.
That's amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
I remember hearing the good for the first time.
Good.
And the first thing I think I reached out to John first it was funny because John, you sent me the songs. I was like a little reluctant. I'm like, do I want to hear this? I'm gonna talk myself into.
Well, because I
wanting to hear
prefaced it. I said, listen, if I show you a half-baked
Far from
project
half-baked.
right now,
Yeah.
this will forever diminish the pageantry and the wonder of receiving it for the first time as a fully finished thing. Do you, as a fan,
100%.
willing to sacrifice
Yeah.
your fullest experience in order to participate a little bit and collaborate
Right.
on giving me some feedback?
In which I then sent you probably 10 minutes of me
You were
talking
going back and
myself
forth. You were
through
like, well, on the one
how I
hand,
feel about this, and I landed
other,
on the idea that
a
I
lot of pros and
love.
cons came out.
There were lots, and there are lots of pros and cons, and I appreciate the question in the first place, because I was like, I don't know if I can do it, but at the end of the day, I'm someone who loves to go back and look at sketches of my favorite artists. You see the drafts of a song throughout, see the page that Jay is writing in the back of the rec room, like all those things are interesting to me. So I listened to him. John's messaging me to ask if I got him. I can't even message him back because I don't want to turn the song off. Like I could have saved it to my files.
In your SMS.
I'm listening to it in my headphones. I'm like, I'll just tell him to fucking play. It's like it's so fucking good. But the first thing I said was, these are it's organic. These songs are so organic sounding. Like, DJ, your fucking bass playing is insane. It sounds so organic. The drums are organic. The guitar is organic. Rich is dying, screaming. It's organic. What's more human than dying? And
it's called being out of practice.
Yeah, dude, that's out of practice.
Yes, it's called just barely getting through it.
I gotta survive. I'm trying to survive.
Yeah, man.
To me, it sounds like you guys have continued but pushed that sound of wanting to be organic. So that was something clearly important to you guys.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like that organic sound, and it starts like, Jay, I guess you're the primary songwriter. Is that how it works? Are you writing the riffs and then teaching John? Is that where this whole starts?
It'll start like probably 70% of the time. It starts with like either like a riff or like just something on my end, and then we ping pong it back and forth. And the other 30% of the time, it starts with something on John's end, and then we ping pong it back and forth. And then it'll, with a lot of sometimes feelings getting hurt, and some not talking for a few days, like things go back and forth, and then like something starts to develop. And I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I have no idea how any of this stuff actually came together. Like, I really, really, really don't.
Right, but that's
Pickle
how it goes.
really likes to obsess over harmony. I mean, well, he's changed in the last 4 years, and that's I don't know, maybe that'll be relevant or not to your listeners on comparing whatever this context is to the next thing that we released. But he's actually shifted, in my observation, from completely loyal to harmony to he has a mistress now, Melody. But
fuck.
He's extremely passionate about both, does not want to be bothered by much composition when it comes to rhythm, doesn't want to get distracted by it. And so he gives me a lot of like creative autonomy, except for it's very, if I ever wander into territory that that just organically doesn't jive for him, like if I ever run into some of that techie scene core bullshit, he's so quick to be like, you do anything else but that, brother. Love it.
I get pretty upset.
I think that's okay, but you guys have a relationship that's thankfully good enough to work that way, where you can collaborate and be like, that's
well,
not
it's taken all this time, over the course of writing this record, for us to learn how to communicate.
That's why
at first there was just, that's why it took 4 years. There were times where like I had to put it down for a month, just because like I didn't like what John said about the thing that I did,
Yeah.
It's
or
very,
like I didn't like the bass note that he programmed in the MIDI.
that one F, that one F,
That one F.
and it made it into the record, motherfucker. What?
Yeah.
It's in
Oh, that's
there.
funny. Is that what you guys were doing? I mean, I guess I assume that, but when you were sharing those little clips on Instagram the past like 2 years, that was sounded like MIDI. I don't know what the hell those things were, but it was like keyboard type riffs that you guys are writing and sending back and forth.
Dude, this whole process was fucking insane. Like when I like when John was describing before, like he, I just sent a smoke signal out and he saw it, and like and he's like, I got a drum set, I got a guitar. I literally I had a guitar. Like that's all the things that I had. And I had a clothes.
Yeah.
Like
It's
just
weird.
one
I've
clothes.
seen some shirtless videos.
Yeah, sometimes. And I had a little phone. I was like starting to make some videos, and like I didn't even have a computer. Like from John's business went bye, and I bought one of the laptops from his business, and that became like my first. And he sent me like a little a fucking M box. I was like, all right, how do I computer? Like, how do I even
prepared to put
do
the
that?
first iteration of this album out on Jay's cell phone camera audio.
Yeah.
That almost happened.
That would have been great.
Amazing.
So there were just so many things, like just like I was learning how to function as a musician in this new, like just how do you communicate digitally, like when you're a musician, like how the fuck do you do that? Like I start from like an even lower bar than most people, because it's just like, okay, computer, like how do I gotta turn it on. I need like a software. Where's the software? How do I do it? Like,
Where is it?
Where is it? Where is the file? Where did my file go? Like just all of that sort of stuff. There's a really steep learning curve, and then like getting like a fucking DAW and like learning how to do that, and like learning how to work with MIDI and how to program, and things just progressively got easier the more we worked at it. But it was just really, really frustrating, because like when you don't know how to use any of the tools, it kind of stifles any creative flow that you have, where it's just like, okay, fucking, your shit crashes and like you don't know what that means, and you have a guitar in your hand and it's just like, okay, I'm not fucking being a musician anymore. Like that's it. I just quit.
So frustrating.
So fucking frustrating.
I know DJ
So, yeah.
his ups and downs there. I know Rich also. It's like there's only so much I really want to have to learn how to be a fucking engineer.
Right. You have to communicate as a band.
So happy to pay somebody else to do all that shit. Don't want to record. Like, yeah.
When did you come into the process of this album, like in the songs? How long ago was that?
The songs were done, and actually what's funny is I so don't want to do that record shit on my own that I had actually flown to Raleigh, Durham to record a different project, because the drummer was there and there was a studio. So I was like, I would rather fly down than do this shit at home.
Yeah.
So we did that. And then on the way back, Kevin had texted me, Kevin Ontresian, who they were tracking with, was like, hey man, are you free to do another project? I was like, fuck yeah, what is it? He's like, Sawtooth. I'm like, all right, yeah, give me the files ASAP, because I have a feeling it's gonna be a lot of fucking notes. And I'm pretty sure John wrote most of the bass parts. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
Both of you guys?
Well, I just took the bass voicing from his chords and created an outline anywhere where there was like a percussively relevant thing. I started to, but I don't know. It's pretty damn close to the bottom voicing of all Sprinkle shit.
DJ,
Yeah.
how familiar were you with Sawtooth, like prior? Like very?
No, not really. I shared a stage with Rich one time in Chapel Hill when I was playing number 12. He came on and sang with us. And besides that was pretty much it.
That was so fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But
how long ago was
doing
that?
the bass was
You said 2012?
No, it was like 2015 or something, like
okay.
2016 or something like that, maybe.
Okay. All right. That's awesome.
But yeah, when they sent me the files for this, it was way like, yeah, Cuddle Monster's all right in my opinion, but I think this one's way better if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
I got the riffs. I was like,
dude, I love Cuddle Monster. It's one of my favorite things of all time. But this new stuff is just on another level. And it does everything. It does things I love from Cuddle Monster, but this is just it's meaner, eviler, darker, beautifuler. I'll just make up more words.
I was about to say, you're an author. You're making up words.
Fuck language.
Yeah. So, but it was super cool because like John sent me all the files, and I'd known John for a while, and he was like, So I wrote these bass parts, but I'm not sure like what is physically possible. So, you know, change whatever you got to change. But then that was like pretty much it. And I think I had like 2 months or 3 months to like get it together. And then I went into the studio with Kevin and I, you know, knocked it. I did everything pretty much as is. And then I did a couple little different things and everything. Yep. Everybody liked it, I guess. So that's what's on the record now.
Yeah. No,
Tremendous.
sounds great.
There's a few
Sounds
bass guitar moments on this record that take over the whole point of.
They make the part.
You're like, this whole song.
Yeah.
Just somehow a big long setup for this bass moment. Holy
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, dude. I mean, the very end of Afterlife, kids. That's my big balls moment. Like, I was like, hey, because I had this big ass tube amp, and I'm just a Neanderthal in the studio. I have a big Varellin meat smoke. It's literally gain, bass, middle, treble, volume, and then there's 2 channels. So there's 2 gains and 2 volumes. And so all I know is click the fucking button, and it's gonna sound good. Yep. And so that's what that sound is. And yeah.
I sat in on drums for 2 gigs when you came through Buffalo with 12.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, that's awesome.
My whole takeaway from the set was like, dude, that DJ, man, it's so powerful, bro. It's like, holy shit. That was like my whole takeaway from both of those gigs. I was like, and I kept saying Alex, and Alex was like, you know, man, I mean, there's other things that are cool. I'm like, dude, that DJ, those got so much balls, though.
That's great.
Well, the first time we played there, you were helping the dude do sound because I think it was like kind of a last minute thing.
I did
like,
all your lighting.
And you were on the board too, and we were like doing a quick line check, and you're like, DJ, look, I know like being loud is cool and everything, but like you gotta come down at least a little bit. And I was like, no, but it sounds really good when I'm at 7. Like that's the spot where the power tubes break up. Like that's what it needs to be. I'm sorry.
Because the sound guy was like, I can't mic it. It's already louder than the rest of the band. Like I can't.
Yeah, good. Fuck them. Turn everybody else up. Turn everyone else up.
If you just go down 3 dB, we can put something in the PA. You're like, nah, I'm good.
And then I got worse on the following tours because I was like, I didn't like how anything sounded coming through the monitors. So I was like, well, I know I can run this amp at 2 ohms. So I'll just have 1 cab on this side and then a whole nother cab on the other side. So that was good. I was running. That's
where the bass players get their revenge for getting buried on the record.
Right.
They always make it up on the live show. They're like, yeah, look at me now, man.
Yeah, dude.
I'm everything.
Nobody's missing it this time. Hell no.
It's
I was
funny.
just texting Kevin. I was walking my dog. I was just texting Kevin. I was like, I am like very pleased with how much bass there is on this record. So
that's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Like, yeah.
I can't wait.
I don't have to fight for it.
I can't wait for people to hear these songs. It's like crazy to think that like I know them so well now, and you guys have living with them for years. That like today when they're hearing this, they have these songs. And
Shane, like I told you, then when you read along the lyrics whilst listening and start to pick up on his phrasing and how he's choosing to, because it's like there's such a nuance to how Rich fits the lyrical phrasing. It's a much more of a real poetic mindset. Like he's not they're just putting syllables with the choppy mathcore stuff.
Right.
It's like
no,
the phrasing infers emotional content.
I'll say this because we'll get into this, but like I sing the songs my mother sang. When that's the shit that makes me tear up. It's because that's so many things. That is so many things. That's like the centerpiece, as I see it, of the album. And
that's why it's where it's at on the record.
Dude, it's unfucking believable. And like, so it's like, okay, oh wow, Jay's playing this riff and it's lasting for how long now? Shit, nothing else is happening. And then of course I'm like, I know these motherfuckers. They're not going to drop it now. Maybe never. Who knows? But they're not going to drop it now. And they don't. You don't. And I'll talk like you're here. And the song starts and it's amazing. It's crazy. I want to get into because this song for me encapsulates all the things that work so well with Sawtooth and these new songs. But when you start to hear that little riff come back in that song before you really drop that shit, and you're like, it sneaks in, just like you're talking about earlier on Cuddle Monster, where there's like that 1 second of that riff that then is on Good Touch, and then it drops and John does his shit with the way the double bass is, and then I'm reading the lyrics and the way you're phrasing it, everything is working on such a fucking amazing level. That's why I tear up. I'm like, holy fuck. because I would cheer up for "Please Shit All Over Me, I Love It." I hope that's a sentence that's never been said before. But it's true. When you,
I just told my 7.5-year-old to ignore all the cuss words coming from.
oh shoot! I'll start saying shoot.
No, he was like, it's good. He's like, Daddy, that cat is long out of the bed. I don't say them out of respect for adults.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Got it.
But I'll probably only get worse now.
Yeah,
No,
sorry.
no.
He just wants to say a quick hi.
Oh, of course. What's up,
Hey, buddy.
dude? How are you?
Hey, Jackson.
I
How's it
just had a
going,
blood
man?
note, so that's why my dad had to leave.
So,
Oh, you all right?
Oh man.
he was digging for gold. Things
Yeah.
got a little
Yeah.
dried and crackly.
My son gets them all the time. I used to get them all the time
I
too.
was like in bed and I was like,
Digging
no.
for gold.
Of course. That's how it happens.
Now, kids listening at home, no tech wheel riffs, and no picking your nose because
No nose
Yeah.
picking.
Right.
All right, go back in your room. There's
Have a nice
cuss
day.
words out here. Cuss.
Bye. Have a good
The
night.
door, please.
Bye.
It's incredible. I actually, we'll get back to the wonderful centerpiece in a minute. But
What about that?
Yeah.
I showed my son, who's 6, the new songs on the way home from school earlier, and he was like blown away. He's heard Cuddle Monster. He's heard a lot of other things, but he actually had a question for you guys. That just reminded me, and we'll go back. But he wanted to know, why'd you call yourself the Sawtooth Grin?
Yeah, that's a good question. So originally,
Rich was really into Bloodlet. Rich was really into this band called Bloodlet when he was
That is so
a
sick, though.
teenager.
all right. So I was not really into Bloodlet's great. I was not
Bloodlet's
really
great.
into Bloodlet.
Nothing wrong with it.
No, nothing wrong with Bloodlet. I was not super into them. I didn't realize they had a song called that, which is crazy because it's the exact song title, is it not? So
Yeah.
But no, I was the previous band that Thomas and myself and my brother were playing in at the time had split up, and we actually are the last gig that band played was Shai Halud's first gig as a New York band,
Wow.
which is really funny
What
because they were.
was the name of the pre-Sawtooth?
Is this the Heatherton Heatwave?
It's called All Ties Severed. This is actually before
All Ties Severed.
So
Oh.
basically, All Ties Severed
Pre-Heatwave.
kind of split, and then everybody that was in that minus one guy formed the Sawtooth Grin, and that included it was 2 singers. It was me and it was Steve who
Steve
sang.
Amato. Yeah.
Steve Amato who sang in the Heatwave. So really, the original Sawtooth was like both of those bands together, and then
Oh my God! Yeah. God.
isn't that crazy?
I remember that
Crazy.
slight moment where your brother was still. It was like time for him to pick a team,
Yeah, and he
like
was
a
like
full
doing
Heatwave.
both. Yeah, he went Heatwave.
and you were like traitor.
Well, he and I had started playing in bands together when I was 15 and he was 13, and
All
so
the
like
guys severed.
the idea of like doing different bands was a little weird.
Yeah.
You know, like that he was going to split off, but ultimately it was for the best because I really loved what they kind of did with that band. We had a lot of fun, playing together with that band. But basically, Sawtooth was initially very much like a Westchester County, Montrose, New York kind of experience. We had met Jay through a connection. Basically, when Heatwave started up, their original singer had a connection to Jay through some other Rockland folks through the college that he went to. And basically, that's how we got the connection with Jay. And Jay brought us John, so. And at the time, we weren't really doing a heck of a lot. Like we had played one gig. We had like 2 songs. We had played one gig, and our original guitar player basically went through like a year and change of just like writer's block, where he just didn't really accomplish anything new, and we were getting kind of frustrated, and we needed a change, and yada yada yada. And so Jay came to that first practice, and everybody, including the original guitar player, was game to have a second guitar player, a different voice, a different perspective, yada yada yada, from across the river. And Jay came to the practice and was very overtly, obviously, underwhelmed by the material, but
Spike
then
kicked in.
just completely like underwhelmed by it. But then, you know, my brother, who was playing bass in the band at the time, started playing some riffs that he and I were knocking around together, like in the basement. And it was just the general concept of, what if it's busier? What if it's faster? What if it's weirder? We're listening to, at the time, you know, a lot of Cave In and a lot of like Botch and Converge and Drowning Man and Coalesce was a huge, for me still to this day. Coalesce is like top 5 loud acts. Really, really great. You know, I was a Calculating Infinity guy because I had heard it in college. And so, you know, but that
Inalienable Dreamless.
Yeah, of course, exactly right. 2001 hits, the Inalienable Dreamless drops, and I said, oh, that just kind of broke my brain a little bit, and it sort of pushed me into like, what's like, from a vocalist perspective, like what's not like putting on airs, like what's like, if I go as hard and push as hard as possible, what then comes out of me as far as a sound, where I'm not like doing a voice, but I'm just pushing as hard as I can. And I think that was kind of like the big impetus for that, or the big sort of you know, like the jumping off point for me with that. But you know, we were kicking around so much busier stuff, and we just, my brother just started playing some of that stuff in front of Jay, and Thomas was sort of playing along with it. And I think that was the moment where he was like, I think I can work with this, and immediately threw a riff at us, and it sort of started from there, you know. And I think the next practice he brought John along with him. So
John's been there forever.
Yeah.
Jay was coming from across the river, Rockland County.
Yeah.
Whole different mindset. So it's like Rich and them gang were in this whole like art, noise, avant-garde, hardcore sort of ethics, intermingling with old school like Earache Records grindcore, fucking like mania. And they're starting, you know, and then you have like Calculating Infinity, which is sort of like, oh, okay, I see those Jersey guys are kind of doing their. And he's got this all swarming in his brain. Meanwhile, on the other side of the river, Jay is listening to, you know, Morbid Angel, Napalm Death, blah, 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 all these bands. And then he hears Gorguts. Okay. And he gets exposed to this, this Quebecois, slightly proggish, fucking whatever, and it's all commingling in this soup in his brain of like, whoa, there's like a much nastier way to do this. Like there's just like a gnarlierness.
Confrontational. It's confrontational.
Like, is missing. Yeah. There's a missing spite and confrontation, anger.
Yes.
And so Jay is like looking for this outlet from hanging with, you know, I want to say like, you know, Bob Gregory, and you know, there was this whole hang of dudes in North Rockland, and they were very just like, dude, like Morbid Angel, Death, Chuck Schuldiner is how you play drums. You know, I mean, how you play guitar. Richard Christie is how you play drums.
Right.
But it's like Jay was longing for an up a notch, somewhere else to take this like more long hair metal thing. And so all of a sudden he's telling me, bro, I met these dudes in Westchester. They're crazy. They're bananas. They're like, you know, they dress like the kid next door. They go out, you know, they all have, you know, like are like mowing their lawn and come home for dinner and say, howdy doody shit. And he's like, and then they go out and play the most sick shows you've ever seen in your life. He's like, I got this gig. I'm trying out, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be the coolest thing ever.
Like they all have Beatles haircuts.
Yeah. I think I want to say like
it's like that. It's like those
later.
memes. Oh, sorry. Like where it's like, you know, if the guitar player looks like Kip from fucking, God damn it,
Napoleon
Dynamite. You know you're gonna fucking die in the pit.
That's it.
Well, so
like Rich, your hair looked like Jack Torrance, like from the fucking Shining. Like the hair that you had at the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I was aware of it. I was fully embracing it, you know.
It was incredible. Even though I can tell you all had clearly different inspirations and a lot of similar ones, it doesn't even, to me, it doesn't like reflect. It's not like you're just copying and pasting. You made something completely new.
Like you would never know that like the big common ground between everybody in this chat right now is at the gates, but it is.
Thick.
100%.
That's
Yo,
great.
I'm playing with them in 3
At the
weeks.
gates and
Ah!
at the drive-in.
Wait,
At the
Hey,
gates
what?
and at the drive-in.
At the gates and at the drive-in.
DJ, what?
I love that.
Yeah, we're doing a festival with So Hideous in the UK, and at the gate, fucking Ministry dropped, and they added. Dude, you saw the poster, right, John? They added
Yeah.
At the Gates doing Slaughter of the Soul.
Son of a bitch.
And then Converge
They
doing
added
Jane
God
Bell.
Flesh.
What?
Godflesh is on is headlining your
Wow.
show.
Oh yeah,
Godflesh. Matthew.
You think-
it's gonna be crazy. And it's a
You think I
one-night
could
fest.
fit
Chelsea
in-
Brothers.
Do you think I could fit in your luggage?
Shout out to So Hideous, man. That shit is awesome.
That's
So
awesome.
Hideous
You
is
can fit
opening
my,
up for
my second
Godflesh.
base cake.
Yeah,
God.
that's
Oh,
amazing.
thank you.
Yeah, dude.
No, but
Um,
Shane, dude, those two soups were percolating in the minds of these two men.
Yep.
They meet.
Yeah.
I want to say 4 months later, terrorists flew planes into the Twin Towers.
Really?
No.
What are you trying to say, John? What do you
I'm not
think?
blaming you guys. No, I'm saying
No, yeah, that time is
they
crazy
have
to
these
think
two
of.
mindsets percolating. Jay's trying to sort of transcend out of the long hair metal thing.
Yep.
Rich and his people on the other side of the river are trying to transcend out of their short hair metal thing.
Yep.
We just needed more skill. You know,
And
is
then
what it was.
boom,
We needed
the
some
whole
skill.
world gets shattered and crazy.
It-
And so everybody's feeling that feeling of like, whatever, take the risk now. Just take it. Just do it. Just play
Yeah.
Just do that band. Who cares?
Yeah.
Wow. You know, it's funny that you mentioned that because
I hear
Right.
that. I think
post like 9/11 shit, the weird despair and just how absurd the world felt. I mean, I don't know, 13, 14 or 15. I don't know. I can do the math, but it changed. It obviously changed everything. And
Yeah.
that's around the time I mean, when was Cuddle Monster put out?
right around
2002.
2002. About a year later.
2002.
We got somehow a hold of that, or we got the Cosmonaut thing first, and we got Cuddle Monster. And I didn't know what you all looked like. I didn't know shit. And we were in a like little town that was wedged in the valley, you know, by the Bear Mountain Bridge, sort of close to Rockland, but I didn't have internet. I didn't have more than 5 channels.
On 9/11, I drove to Rich's house. There was no toll on the Bear Mountain Bridge. On the day, I drove
Yeah.
there thinking, I just want to be my friends if we're all going to die. I
Wow.
literally just want to be with my friends.
That's
I went on a date.
crazy.
I went
Yeah.
on a date on 9/11.
With who?
Yeah, that's what gets you hard, huh?
we,
Oh my God.
Hey, babe, let's grab a slice. I'm feeling frisky today.
Oh my God, dude.
Holy
Very-
shit. That,
DJ said
Very
it.
nice lady. This
How'd the
nice
date
lady
go?
named Christine. We went to I think we went for
What was open?
right.
the Dunkin' Donuts
Yeah, what
across
the
from the mall.
There you go.
Dunk.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Those corporate pricks.
Without
Yeah.
fail. Without fail.
So we had coffee and a little bit of makeout in the parking lot, Dunkin' Donuts
You
on
made out on
9/11.
9/11.
There was a
I made out on
there was a
9/11.
feeling of danger. There was a feeling
Yeah.
of imminent
Yeah.
death is coming.
Yeah.
Better just
Might as well make out now. You never
Yeah.
know.
She got in trouble with her family too, because her family was all like NYPD, FDNY folks, and they were like fucking. They give her shit for like going on a date on 9/11.
Wow.
Right.
not surprised.
Wow. That's crazy. But so then we were writing Cuddle Monster around that time. I guess?
Exactly. That's the point. I'm
Yeah.
making.
Yeah.
So
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Fold this combo of
Yes.
Jay's like, I need to ascend out of the long hair metal thing. Rich is like, I need to get out of the tropes of the like screamo, Sasha, Jersey. Boom.
Yep.
Then they collide, and then chaos.
I think
Well,
and
if we
my
want-
and then you get Cuddle Monster.
I was just like a little, when I look back at what we were doing before Sawtooth, and if I had to put a fine point on it, I'm like, we're doing all this sort of like Shai Hulud light, you know what I mean, like metalcore,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, it's not a diss on Shai Hulud because I still
That's
love
not
Shai
you
Hulud.
at all.
Yeah.
Shai Hulud to this
shit.
day. Love
Yeah.
Shai Hulud to this day. But I'm just like, dude, I'm like more of a dead guy, you know what I mean? I'm
Mm.
more of like a dead guy.
Dead guy
So
That's good.
I'm gonna do
They
something.
need that. They need that merch.
How can I get there? And that was just the tip of the iceberg. If you really think about it, you want to talk about a band that was a precursor to all the really, really cool shit that came out of Jersey and the really, really cool shit that came out of just the tri-state area. You really have to talk about, you really have to talk about Dead Guy, you know?
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like, that's the direction I'm starting to see. And then piggybacking on to that sort of like first waves, you know, like the Screamo stuff and like a
And
lot
that
of
one was how to light cigarettes in prison. That was that.
that's Drowning Man. That was
Okay,
Drowning
I'm
Man.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Mm.
What was the Dead
Yeah.
Guy?
Dead Guy was
good.
Fixation on a
Fixation on a
coworker.
Coworker.
Fixation on a coworker.
But I will
Great
go ahead.
title.
I will go ahead right out of here and say, dude, unpopular opinion. Screaming with the Dead Guy Quintet, the follow-up that features a drastically different lineup that a lot of people hate on because it's a drastically different lineup, dude, just as good. And I don't care what anybody says. Come
I have
at
to
me.
check it. I don't think I've ever listened to
Come
it.
at me.
That's a hot take.
Yeah.
That's a hot take.
No, we should.
Just as good.
Yeah.
Dude, Steve Austin production. Oh
Oh.
my God. So good.
Early in his career. All right. Sorry. So
No, that's great.
you're sorting out the camps for yourself at that era, and you're
Yeah.
thinking to yourself, you know, I can feel a movement going away from a certain
Yeah.
trope, and you know your aim is shifting
Yeah.
for sure.
It's like, it's got to be crazier. Let's get more obnoxious. Let's be more antagonistic. I don't care if people like it. I'm
Mhm.
tired of catering. You know what I mean? Because the reality of it is that when we were really young and we started doing bands and we were doing like hardcore bands and everybody in the group was like, oh, it's a bunch of straight edge kids. You know, we were all straight edge. I still am. But you know, like we were trying to do that. We were trying to do that as a sound, you know what I mean? It's like we're like 1994 Victory Records, but the reality of it is that despite the fact that, you know, myself, my brother, you know, some of those early Sawtooth guys as well, that I think we got in on it. I don't know, what was it, 4-6 months after the other kids that were in our high school did, and they just were not having us as being a part of it. They were like, go back to listening to Fear Factory. Like they're scrawling it on a desk about how you're not welcome in our scene. And I'm just like, isn't this supposed to be the opposite of that? I was like, no, well, fuck it. Guess
So
what?
true.
I'm going to go as crazy as we can go. And I don't care who likes it, who doesn't like it. I don't need your scene. I don't
That
need
was
to be
the
a part of
original
anything.
antagonist. That
Yes.
was the original.
I don't
That's
need
it.
it.
That's where it's born.
You know
That
what?
is
If I can't
great.
get approval with the unapproved,
Right.
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
through all this.
No, I think that's it. That's when I heard Cuddle Monster, and I had been into, you know, bands that you guys had talked about already. Like I like Converge and I like Dillinger, you know, I liked Under the Running Board.
Yeah.
But when I heard Cuddle Monster, I was like, well, there's nothing like this. No one sounds like Jay and Rich. Like the guitar tone and the scream was different.
Still don't.
And you were writing good lyrics, which is rare. I would say it
Better than
happens,
ever.
but it's rare. And
I can't believe that. Listen, I never felt that way about myself or the lyrics. I've always been more of like a sound we have to say is more, or sound we use to say is more important than what we have to say isn't as important as the sound we use to say
How
it.
we say it.
Yeah,
Right.
that's kind of that's always been my thing.
But for me, it was a real learning experience though, because you in particular, Rich, taught me as someone who wanted to write lyrics, like you could be a little wild. Like who was saying Club Soda on a record?
Oh,
So I
there's
felt
no
it gave
rules?
me-
There's
yeah,
no rules?
It opened me up to this, like, oh fuck, I can do whatever the fuck I want. This guy is saying Club Soda, and the lyrics on it, they might be absurd and whatever. I don't know how. I feel like the new songs are more personal. to
That's my
you.
favorite tune on that record, Meat Hook Marty.
Well, Shane and Rich, before you try to, before you even feel a modicum of hesitation about responding to that, I just want to remind everybody that at that time, you know, I love Botch, We Are the Romans, but if
Love
you
it.
look at it lyrically, like it takes itself very seriously.
Oh, sure.
You know,
Yeah.
This is a very serious content that we're
Yes.
making here, where we really feel very opinionated and intense about the seriousness. And the same thing was happening on the long hair metal side of the scene. Everything was taking itself so seriously.
Right.
So it's like maybe the Cuddle Monster lyrics wasn't like Rich, like bearing his soul.
No.
But like in the context, in the setting of who was playing at the gigs, that was such a breath of fresh air at that time.
Oh yeah.
Just to say, like, yeah, I'll make a statement in this song, I'll directly contradiction in this song, and in this song, I will just like plagiarize something from a cookbook.
Yeah.
it's
I don't give
great.
a shit. I
And
don't
it's
care.
so, to me, so inspiring. And then, so I only had the audio of you. I didn't have visuals yet.
Hmm.
And I remember going, my first interaction with you all. As a band playing live, I just went to see, because I was like, I love this band. I'm gonna go see them. It was at Club Static in Monroe, New York.
Yes.
Dude. So
I think I remember that show.
Was that the place that looked like it was like a wrestling ring? It looked like it had like
mirrors.
Yes, mirrors.
Behind
no,
the stage.
there was like rails. It was like you step up and it was like a
Yes.
square
And
like,
a caramel
Yes.
caramel brown wooden floor.
Yes. It was
Caramel.
bizarre.
Caramel.
Caramel.
It was so bizarre. And unfortunately, I was the furthest thing from straight edge. I had walked into that show on a copious amount of mushrooms with my friends.
Whoops.
Hell yeah.
And you know, we had been listening to Cuddle Monster on repeat. So I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be amazing. This is amazing. So then I walk in. Maybe you guys were sitting around. I would never have guessed you were Sawtooth. And then you get on stage, and Rich, this might have just been the drugs talking, but I believe you were in a floor-length fur coat. Is this ring a bell?
It would have been about knee length,
No.
probably.
Oh,
What you're seeing is that he was sporting Jackie O sunglasses.
Yeah, mask
and
of
Jackie
sunglasses.
and you had the hair with the spikes in the back.
Yep.
And then
Oh,
Jay,
sure.
I believe you were playing a Telecaster.
Always.
Always a Telecaster. And then it just started, and the sound ate me alive. And I was like, holy shit, it's even better than the record.
Did I perform in the jacket?
Yeah. You were on that shit. You were on the stage in the jacket, and it was just like, I'd never seen anything like that, because we were these kids, you know, I didn't have access to a lot of stuff. And, you know, I would look at the insides of CDs to get any, like, you know, I think of like looking at Glassjaw, right, in the back of Everything You Ever Want to Know About Silence, and seeing, that's my only way of seeing a band. I don't think, you know, obviously I don't think Cuddle Monster had that. So it was amazing to see that visual, then hear it, experience all that. And it was like the beginning of, you know, me and my friends going to local shows and experiencing all that. So it blew my mind.
I would mosh my head off during your set, whether I was performing after your set or before. It's like we would all mosh for each other.
Oh, it was great. It was great. And there's great videos for those who are listening to go on YouTube, and you can see John Carroll dancing in front of Sawtooth. I don't know, what is that, like a auditorium or something?
You're talking about the skate park in Florida?
Yeah, it's a big room.
That's great.
Yeah, it's great.
For a while, that was the only footage of us on the internet. I would say probably for a good portion of the last 20 years. That was the exclusive footage on the internet that you could see.
And there's people still having conversations about you in those comments to this day.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty
great.
Cool. But yeah, so seeing all that, my first experience of watching Sawtooth, and then, you know, getting to see you guys and play with you a bunch, it was the thing that I said, I think I said earlier, but I didn't, I'll say it again now. The first thing I said after I heard these new songs is like, it's just so human. There's like, this organic sound is so fucking human. And then to go back to what John was saying about, you know, reading along with the lyrics, which I hope everyone does, you have to, because they add this whole other dimension. They're just as, I think, eloquent, beautiful as, but not as absurd. I think Cuddle Monster had an absurdist point of view, whereas these new lyrics are really locked into something like something primal, like emotional, personal, primal shit.
So this album almost did have a very sort of passive aggressive, smart ass approach across the board. I had every intention when we started out 4 years ago of this being a very sort of snide and kind of snotty approach to lyric writing. And my entire angle for all of it was, well, you know, it's the 2020s, and I can't piss people off doing what we were doing back then. Like, it's just not gonna work, you know, it's not gonna resonate. So I really started thinking about what's the most antagonistic thing I can do with these lyrics. And what I landed on was, and what really the album title was born out of, and what I landed on for just the overarching premise, which I guess by and large is still intact, Even though lyrically, you're right. Like I did skew a lot more personal than I initially intended to. But what the overarching premise is I'm good. Oh, like what you're doing this because you're not good? Like you're having a hard time? Like I'm not. I'm not having a hard time. I'm a family man. I'm retired from this.
Yep.
I'm doing good. I'm totally good. Like I'm very happy to do this. Like
Yeah.
it makes me happy
Yeah.
to make this music and to be doing this record
Yeah.
with these fine guys
I
who
know.
I'm very happy to have in my life, you know. And I got a wife, she's great. I got a kid, he's great.
Yep.
I'm in my house, I like it. I'm having a good time, you know. And then it probably got worse when, you know, the world shut down, because for me, I'm watching a lot of like sort of differing perspectives, you know, and I'm not one to speak on how everybody felt about how everything played out. I don't really care to get into it. I don't care to get into it. You're right. I'm not interested in it, except to say, nah, I'm fine. Like, oh, you guys had a hard time with it?
Dude, your goodness
sorry.
is antagonizing. It's unbelievable.
That's now
Like,
you're getting
Oh,
it.
100%.
Like Rich,
Antagonistic
like
you can
Rich,
do.
how you holding up? Good. That's it. Great.
Yeah.
So initially that was the headspace on it. But then these fucking jerk offs had to go and write a really, really, really good bunch of music. And I was like, I have to try. I want to try. I was like, God, these guys are making me want to try. And so that's essentially what happened. Is I started out from like a really kind of you know, like pissy, passive aggressive place, and I think that there are plenty of moments throughout the course of the record that you can kind of like, you can listen to The Shining Wire and you can hear some of that. You could listen to I Don't Need This and you can hear a little bit of that.
I don't
but
know this for sure.
Much more than that, because it's in there, but it's not the same spit with bile that initially what I had planned. It's much more of like a really like a love letter to these other guys is essentially where my head is at, you know.
Yeah.
More than anything else. And it's about life, and it's about what, like where we all used to be versus where we're at now. And really, I'd say it's I don't necessarily feel as though it's tremendously emotional work from me, but it's definitely tremendously introspective and self-analyzing. You know, it was actually it was difficult and fun to do. It was difficult and fun.
Yeah.
There's a tone that I've never heard before on like lyrically. Like I've never encountered anything very like there's, and maybe this is like an outlandish comparison, but like it feels lyrically, it sits in a similar place to like I don't know why I think of Twin Peaks. Like it delivers the same emotional
Beauty.
just yeah. There's a sincerity
Mhm.
that
That's a great word for it.
I don't know. I wouldn't have seen working.
High praise.
Yeah,
praise.
Dude, does everyone in Sawtooth like Twin Peaks as much as Rich?
I think so. Yeah.
Is that a shared love?
Absolutely. That's a big hand in the air. That's a big
same.
hand in the air for across the
Same.
board.
Somewhere on Instagram is I don't know how long that comment section was between me and Rich trying to rewrite Twin Peaks in emojis. But it's somewhere, and that was a good time. But that's such a good way of describing the tone of the lyrics, sincerity, and by comparing it to Twin Peaks, because it's like it's mysterious, it's dark, but it's also like oddly relatable, but you don't really know why all the time, and you want to just keep rewatching it after all these years. That's awesome. I love that.
Stop trying to make me cry, you guys.
Yeah, well, this is what this is. We're all gonna cry now. But yeah, so then going back to what is the name of the song? Niagara Falls, Frankie Angel.
Niagara Falls, Frankie Angel. Yep.
Niagara Falls.
which is
Niagara Falls, Frankie Angel.
that's right. Great movie.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So hardest tune to write. Hardest tune
Really?
to write. Yeah, absolutely. Also, best I sound on the record.
100%.
Hardest I'm screaming.
Oh my God.
Hardest I'm screaming on the record, probably.
So-
There's a lot
It
of
sounds like
good
it.
variants on that one too.
yeah.
I like all the different vocal tones. That's
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
I just want to let's start
Thank
from the
you.
beginning of that song. Like, so when
Yeah.
Jay, when you're writing a song like that, do you write like linearly? Like, when you have a riff, does it start with that song in particular? do you
Great
start with
example.
that?
shit.
Great song to pick.
No, I mean, I don't know like how personal like we want to get here, but like there's
Go for it,
Up
bro.
to you. It's up to you.
The,
You do as personal as you want.
the main like so from like 2012 through like 2016ish, like I was just at varying stages of like homeless. So I was either like straight up on the street or like in some institution or something, or just like wandering around, or like I lived at the Palisades Mall for a while, like just a lot of fucking crazy stuff. And so I can remember being I don't remember exactly where I was, but I remember like just feeling like a little bit lucid and having some energy about me, and just like remembering like, oh shit, like yeah, music. And I remember like just connecting with some rhythmic phrase from like a few years prior, and like just trying to, I didn't have a guitar, I just had my hands. I was like just like walking around tapping on my
Quick
fucking-
interruption, Shane. It was
on
the
my
very
legs.
first riff he wrote for the whole record. It's the very,
Oh, no way.
That song is the very first thing. That's the impetus for the whole thing. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Continue.
Awesome.
So
to know.
yeah. The opening riff, the opening riff is not the one that I'm talking about right now. Like when all the hairbrainness kicks in, like when the full tune kicks in, like all
Mhm.
hectic and heavy, that whole rhythmic phrase, I didn't have a melody for it yet, but like the whole rhythmic phrase, like I tapped out on my thighs while I was like wandering around. I think when I was living in on the street in Manhattan.
Are you talking about the exact riff? The don 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 don. No.
Before yeah.
Those two sequences. That's like as early back as this record goes. Yeah. Into DJ's favorite part. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
You killed that part, DJ. You killed that shit.
Thank you.
God, dude.
So I had that laying around, and it's pretty much like I when we decided to start writing a record, like I remember going into like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Mhm.
I have lots of ideas. Like, let me go into like this sort of like kind of like collector sort of mode, where like I'm gonna play with like chords that I like. I'm gonna play with like some tonalities that I like. I'm gonna like just wander around the fretboard and try to like, oh, you know what, a little melody will like fall out of the sky, and like it's just my job to like kind of like grab it, maybe polish it up a little bit, and like just save it for later. And then like I just accumulate like a whole shelf full of that sort of stuff. And that's just the sort of way I see it. Like me and another close buddy of mine, our mutual friend Greg Biddy, we would talk about how real composition doesn't really feel like, I've never felt like how I imagine Mozart must have felt like sitting at his desk, like writing down, just composing music. Like it's never felt like that. It just felt like something just falls out of the ether. Like I spent a lot of time just making lots of noise and like lots of notes and just lots of stuff happening, and nothing, like all of a sudden just something just falls on the floor, and like I gotta fucking pick it up.
Don't
and like
miss it.
sort of
Don't miss it. Don't let it go. Don't let it get away.
yeah. But I don't feel like I made that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I feel like I'm just need to keep myself in a tuned frame of mind where like I can see the things that fall out of the fucking ether sphere, you know?
You feel like
And-
you just need to get to a place where you can observe the ideas flying by. You just need to put yourself into a place with guitar where you're like, okay, I'm ready. If a good one.
God, this sounds so fucking pretentious.
No, it's real.
So fucking-
No, it sounds like an answer to it.
It's real. It's
No.
real.
I would start when I used to teach. I would start
awesome.
every semester with like the need to become. I called it like being hyper aware, and you have to become an exposed nerve to collect the ideas.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're talking about. And like you
Exposed
became
nerve.
an exposed nerve, and then the things are just landing
Love
out of
that.
the sky. That's I don't know how else to explain it. That's just how it is. Like when you're fucking focused on trying to create anything, they just emerge. It's just the weirdest thing. Like
It just starts to happen.
That's it.
And then there's weird moments where like I'm like, wait a second, do I really know what I'm doing? Like, am I really like calling the shots here? And then like later on, I realized like, oh shit, wait a second, like this thing that I wrote at this time has the same like harmonic theme happening as this other thing that like I wrote at a completely other time. And like, so like, wait a second, is there something going on in my brain? Like, is my subconscious brain like working on stuff while I'm not paying attention? You know what I mean?
I think
And
so.
so there's a lot of that sort of stuff that would start to happen. Like I just have all this, I don't know, just this like all these like little sonic like trinkets and fucking, you know, artifacts like just laying around, and I just would start to see their similarities. And then like slowly some sort of like arc, some sort of like song arc would start to take shape, and there'd be like a big money riff. Like, all right, well, okay, I want to get there. And then like how many steps does it take to get there? And like, what do those steps look like? And then that's where like like John always points out, like I'm much better at like editing stuff that like is already there than actually like you know, any sort of like inception, you know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah,
Well, I was just going
Um,
to add to what you said and say when they're flying by him, when all the opportunities, all the different ways to go, they're flying overhead. He's got the guitar. He's like, "Come on, give me a good one." The filter is spite and anger. It's
Right.
like, that annoys me. That pisses me off. That's stupid and cliche. That's some bullshit that no. Oh, okay, that was a good one.
Right.
And he squirrels it away and it keeps going.
Yeah, and I've gotten good enough at what at least I think I've gotten good enough at what I do to be able to like, and maybe this just comes from like some of my life experiences. Like I've just learned to get a lot out of like a very little bit of substance. You know what I mean? So like one fucking riff that can be, I mean, there's so much there. Like you could if it's like a piece of meat, like you could boil that, you could, you know, just make stock out of it. You could eat the meat, you could eat for a month off of that, you know?
That's right.
And
That's right.
So like a riff, there's all sorts of ways to like dissect something. You could take the melody from the riff and change the rhythmic pattern. You could take the fucking rhythmic pattern and just and then, let's just do it in dotted eighth notes rather than in 16th notes. You know, there's surprisingly little core ideas that went into making this record. Like there's
core concepts, but
core concepts.
You ripped apart a lot of awesome parts.
There's a lot going on in there, man. Don't sell it short.
No,
well, the other
what I
know
know
what you're
saying about
saying.
his editing mind though, it's so him, because it's like once he
I'm very lazy
once he
by
grabs
nature,
onto and
also.
archives the nuggets,
Right.
and then the song starts to form, he's already now analyzing it as he's having an objective viewpoint. He's like, nope, that's a little cliche. That doesn't belong. That rhythm's a little too spicy. That's not. It's like he can then. It's like, oh, boom! God shat out the lump of clay, and now he can start molding it.
I don't know why when it has to do with me, like I have a harder time with it. It reminds me of like I'm only just starting to get good at grocery shopping for myself. I mean, for like my mom is disabled. She used to live with me. She used to need a lot of help. So she'd send me to the grocery store, and I could do her grocery shopping like no fucking problem. But when it came to do my grocery shopping, like I just I wanted to ask somebody who worked at the grocery store, like, can you walk around with me and tell me?
Riff, man. It's the same with the riff.
That's great. That's great.
And so it's like he's got to get into a place where the riffs are just coming, and he's like, I'm not the one making them. I'm just here to observe and report. I am a journalist. I am documenting these important riffs that are flying through my brain. And when a good one that's not cliche and doesn't piss me off comes down,
so
that get back to the editing.
That like spark of creation is still as organic as the way it sounds in the end. So it's like
He's better at it now than he's
crazy.
ever been.
It's crazy because
Crazy.
Jay, you talked about you know there's a riff that you want to build to, and there's a lot of bands, and I like those bands, some of them that they had a riff that they just wanted to build to, so they just plot along till they get to that riff, and then like the rest of the song sucks and it's whatever. But you guys build to riffs that's like I can't not listen to the whole song. I want to climb to that riff. So every song, when I think of your songwriting, I think of transitions, and like the way you transition from riff to riff is fucking nuts. And not just that, but then song to song, the way you put them on the record in a row is also amazing. So yeah, that's why I was wondering, like, so then you're collecting these riffs, you got a riff, and you can either deconstruct it to turn it into something else to get to another place, or you got another thing that sounds like it's in the frequency of these other things, and you're building the song, and then some of them have this like amazing release in the end, some of them don't, some of them fuck you up, some of them are these pretty, like I kept hearing the word brassy at certain points in my head today, that there's like chords you're playing that are, I don't know how else to, there's probably a better term, but to me it's just like brassy. I'm like, and then Rich, your voice is like the perfect blend to Jay's guitar. And then watching John and Jay build those clips that I saw through Instagram is like, well, those two are meant to play together. So it's just like this amazing way of, we're talking about communicating not only as friends and bandmates, but then you have to teach each other the songs, that must be insane. And then DJ, I can't imagine coming in and being like, okay, what? Like, you obviously you know what you're fucking doing. You fucking killed it.
Well,
I think
it's really
sorry.
Coming in from an outside perspective is funny with these songs, because it's like, it took me a while to like transcribe them and figure out what was going on. But then once you zoom out, you're like, oh, how did I not fucking see that this riff is just the other riff backwards, or with a beat added, or with a beat taken away? But it's hard because I have to sit there and like figure it out first, and then figure.
Yep. DJ froze for a second. He's back.
Oh, that's a perfect freeze. Look at that.
He looks great. Yeah. DJ, you can hear us. You're here, but I hear what he's saying, and like I can't imagine. I think that's why we like listening. Me at least, I like listening to this stuff over and over and over again, because I'm hearing something new every
all
time.
along this process. The person that was most surprised at how great they were was Sprinkle. It's like,
oh god,
when we got the first day of tracking was rough, and all his demons, all his criticism, all his spite and anger was aimed inward, and he was melting down. The robot was crashing down.
I'll say this. I say this. I like a lot of records. I like a lot of records in the world, and I'm one of the few guys in the group that, at the very least, once we got finished with this process, I started then opening up to like current stuff that's happening now. I didn't want to listen to it while we were doing it, but now I'm like, my ears are open to like what a lot of these groups are doing now. And I like plenty of it. I mean, some of it I don't like. That's life. I like plenty of it, but I will say this in all seriousness. These are my favorite riffs. These are my favorite. These riffs are my favorite riffs, Jay. Jay, these are my favorite riffs.
Even if he didn't actually lie, and he really does hate everything and everyone.
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, I
still are. No,
these are my favorite riffs.
Rich is they're the best riffs.
They are fucking awesome riffs.
These are the best riffs.
So then
you're immolation dude status now of like
that's what I'm saying.
Riff Lord. You're hashtag Riff Lord.
They are.
You have found a wellspring of riffs that it's like, I feel the same way. I'm like, gotta grab that one. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, keep them coming.
Don't let anybody. It's like I want
right.
to squirrel them away, because it's like, holy man.
We were talking the other day about it, and I think the coolest thing, and I talked to John a little bit about this, and I talked to Jay about this the other day, that the thing that really makes me hyped about it, as far as riff for riff goes, is that this is a great moment of establishment, as far as like, this is Jay Springman riffs. This is what they sound like. This is how he does it. Like,
because we've known for 25 fucking years.
But this is a very this feels very
specifically on this
specifically.
fucking pot of gold. We gotta get this out there. We gotta get this.
The best records are these great like units, like sound monoliths that come at you as one giant piece of art, one giant sort of statement that's singular, but if you were of the mind to dissect things, and I tend to be of that mind to dissect things, what you start noticing for all the greats is that you start noticing that it's this single monolith of sound, but it's made up of very specific contributions from very specific people. You know what I mean? And I think that's to me, like, what the coolest thing about it is that it feels very much like a singular presentation that we, you know, that we're a unit, you know what I mean? But it's made up of very idiosyncratic elements.
The listener enters like a very specific dimension when you press play on these songs. Like you almost see like certain colors and I don't want to say it's not claustrophobic, but you are just away from everything else. If you pay attention, you're just there. There's nowhere else to go. And yeah, exactly. And like, so then the riff then that begins Niagara Falls, when it opens up and then John breaks it down, the way then John's drums change throughout that part are fucking nuts. And like the double bass and like whatever, like I love that song, and I love that it's there in the middle of that album. And
you're talking about the outro when the riff comes back, when the intro,
when the riff comes back, and you're the way
I'm doing old school 2001 VFW Hall right there. That's my whole state of mind.
Yeah,
I'm trying to do hardcore drumming. You know, like how I remember hardcore sound.
Yep, but it's still like perfectly Sawtooth. Like I never once am like, oh, this is, you know, I feel like it's a scrap of inspiration from this place or that place. It's just like this is fucking Sawtooth.
That's great, man.
Raw Sawtooth. So yeah, that song, but is the one that's like I just love that it's in the center, and that phrase that Rich you say in the end is so fucking good. But I just love thinking of like you guys writing these songs. Like I love that we got to see a few glimpses of it, and people are getting super excited of you guys, specifically, you know, Jay and John, you guys sharing those clips throughout the last few years, which was super exciting. And to see what you did with it, holy shit.
There's a lot of those rips.
The closest to my chest thing I've ever managed to keep close to my
chest. It's been difficult.
Yeah.
Before we realized like that, like there was gonna like an album was gonna like I was posting just the riffs like as I wrote like it was like on my Instagram, like literally like, dude, I just wrote this cool ass riff, and like and it's all there in my fucking Instagram. Like
same.
That's great.
DM me for riff prices.
So Shane, at a certain point, it starts occurring to us like we will diminish the impact of this if everybody's heard every single freaking iteration and whatever. The same conversation I had with you before I sent you the demos. Like, so we start to say like, all right, listen, the way to maximize the joy of the impact of this thing on whoever's going to care about it is we got to shut the fuck up about it.
Yeah, we got to shut up.
So hard. It sucks. It's so hard.
Button it up.
So hard.
So for almost 4 years, we've just been like,
that's crazy. I mean, we saw a few hints. We saw some hints.
You're one of two people that has pre-listened to it.
Dude, I have like two of my closest, oldest friends in my life who love Sawtooth as much as me. I haven't even told them. That's fucking wow.
Because if you really love them,
it's only 2 weeks.
You won't
show them. Yeah,
see the bride before.
Yeah,
dude,
I walks down the aisle.
Yeah, I don't even want them to know it's coming. Like they'll be so happy. Right, like that it exists all of a sudden. And I am a blabbermouth, clearly. If anyone follows me anywhere, I talk a lot of stuff all the time, and like it's really hard to keep this a secret.
This has been tough.
But it's worth it because it's so exciting. Like when you guys were sharing those things, like I said it earlier, but it's insane how many people were hitting me up, and I was hitting other people up being like, did you see this? Did you see John playing this? Did you see John? What is going on here? What are these people doing? Are they fucking with us? Like so exciting. What program were you using to make those ridiculous sounding, like the piano and bass things?
The MIDI stuff.
Sprinkle and I both had to start from scratch, so we both got GarageBand.
Yeah, we started on GarageBand.
And then it was like, oh, we got to get Logic. And then I was like, oh, I got to go to Berkeley now and learn how to fucking
just go to Berkeley.
That's literally pretty much how that whole inner dialogue went for me.
Wow.
It was like, you know what? I need to just learn this the proper way.
Right. And then John, you took these songs and did a lot of editing, or all the editing in the end. Is that how it worked?
For the final record, yeah. Kevin was the recording. Kevin Antrezian has done all the record engineering.
Yep.
He did a lot of during mid-tracking editing.
Right. Yep.
comping. So it's like, for those of you who don't know the process, like you play a few takes in a row of a tune and you pick the best moments, you know, where you're like, I love the intro on this one, but I really like the breakdown on that one. You comp it, you splice it, you make it, you make it come together, because the record's forever. It's like, and it's a picture, it's one snapshot.
That's it.
To just go out, no makeup, in your birthday suit feels a little like, not for the fans. At that point, it's about your own ego or whatever. But anyway, so Kevin did a lot of beautiful edit work on the comping. Then I took the project back for, I don't know, you know, like, I mean, through the iterations, you know, I've had it for like 7 months or whatever, but the final edit
since
stage,
I did the bass, I think I recorded in April, right? So
Wow.
yeah.
we started tracking in February. So
Yeah.
but you know, I spared Kevin all the nitty gritty that, you know, because I've been learning as I go through Berkeley. I'm taking their engineering degree program.
Right.
So, and I know no professional engineer of Kevin's caliber wants to be bothered with 8,000 million little, I don't know, maybe that one vocal part, or maybe that one kick drum could just be, if that snare could just be a little, like, I don't know, the fill, it's just, the flow.
It was a lot from me. Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead.
And it was also a lot
that's
of,
every record, every time it's the same shit.
Oh yeah.
well, for me, I'm just thinking, like, not only do I want to play with this mix in a lot of different ways and like take it some different directions, but I want to have a couple weeks to like car listen to that direction and not just think, is this technically correct, but like, how does it hit? Does it hit like when the breakdown drops, do you uncontrollably bang your head?
Right.
Or you're just like, yeah, that's an interesting breakdown. Love the poly, very staccato articulation.
Right.
Very nice.
Right.
It's like, do you headbang?
Yep.
And it's like, what fucking professional mix engineer is ever going to be like, yeah, I'll mix it over the course of the next 6 months with you guys, so you can try on every fucking outfit you want, honey, before we finally get to the ball.
Yeah.
It's like, no engineer would ever do that. So
They wouldn't do it for the budget that we have available.
That's it.
Yeah, it's important to hear those, like when you're recording, to hear the songs in all the different types of places.
well, for me, it's like, bro, Sawtooth hasn't put out a heavyweight contender in 20 years.
Wow,
I haven't put out anything that I'm proud of ever. I mean, Mongrel in 2007, that's my most.
Come on, man, Mongrel's great.
Yeah, Mongrel is the shit.
I like
Mongrel
Mongrel
is
too.
great.
Yeah.
Mongrel,
Mongrel's
I feel really good about. That's it. That's what I got in my career of things where I'm like, if you want to hear me drum and what I'm about, listen to this shit.
Right.
And I'm like, so I've been waiting. And I know these boys have been waiting. And we almost had it going in 2010, and then we fucking lost it. We all fell to shit. But it's like, okay, now it's do or die. This record doesn't need to make $1 million. It just needs to be sick. It just needs to be
that's all that fucking matters.
without trying to headbang.
It's all, you know, as you're saying that, it just dawned on me then that the new Sawtooth was born out of another tragedy, like a giant tragedy. Like you were saying earlier with 2001, you guys were doing a lot of this, I think, during lockdowns and stuff like that. And you're all away from each other and learning to communicate through whatever, you know, internet portals we're using. And that's probably has something to do with also the tone. Again, is like you created something else.
A dramatic sense of urgency.
Yes. Oh man.
A deus ex machina of
That's it.
urgency inducing.
Yep. A lot of deucing. Yep.
Swells nearer to the creative process.
Hey, no,
push
I
it
actually
down.
might really die. I better get this going.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my favorite kind of art.
So it felt.
The stuff that resonates with me the most is the stuff that is complete urgency. You know, that's when I get into debates with some friends over like AI art, and I always say, like, sometimes it looks cool, but there's just no urgency to it because, you know, the human part of it is gone, and it's also just
Right.
I think a collage of, you know, anything you can find on the algorithm online.
If there's no limits, then there's no conflict, and if there's no competing and spiting and conflicting with those that you love and care about and respect, but don't understand and want to fucking hurt, then how are you gonna?
You need walls to press against.
Exactly. And that's why the organic sound comes out, because there's certain bands, and again, I like a lot of these bands that they sound almost too robotic, and I love a lot of that, and that's cool. But with Sawtooth and, you know, a lot of things I like, not metal wise, other things, just that the organic stuff has an urgency, even if it's not urgent sounding. There's an urgency to just, you only got so much time to create this set of words and music.
The week before I drove up to track vocals, I was fully planning on recording in the most correct and accepted way possible, where you do a line and then you stop and then you do the next one and then you stop and then you do the next one and then you stop and all that kind of stuff. And I can't remember what I was listening to. I'm a big sort of like podcast guy, music podcast guy. So I was listening to a music podcast, and it was, I guess it played a band on it. It was something that I don't remember the name of it. I don't remember the name of the band. I don't remember.
Like Conjure Spite and Anger.
Yeah, basically, I listened to this tune. It came on, and it was like the vocalist on this track obviously recorded every word separately.
And you're talking about all that Melissa Cross bullshit, right?
And I talk a lot of shit about that.
You don't want to say it because nice. I'm going to say it.
I don't want to say that. I'm not going to say that. If it didn't make you sound exactly like everybody else that does it, I wouldn't have nearly as big a problem with it. But you know, for me, it's like I heard this tune and I was like, yeah, it was like every syllable, every word, every syllable was obviously like they recorded it, they stopped. They recorded the next one, they stopped. I was like, oh my God, there's like, I get like it's very precise. That's great. It's very sort of, you know, machine tight, but I don't give a fuck about that. I don't care about that. I'm not interested in that. So when I got up there, I did all 8 tunes on the first day. And every single initial, like the principal vocal, like for all 8 tunes is just one take all the way through.
For his demos, he did the whole album in one take.
Yeah, I did the whole album in one take.
Pre-production, he did the whole 20-minute grind.
Just to do, because I know it's like, this is going to be way harder to do it this way than it is however I'm going to do it for real. Right. I was like, so let me practice it hard. Let me demo hard way. And then like, I'll do like, yeah, I'll do a part and then I'll take a break and then I'll do a part. But by the time I got up there, I was like, listen, I said to those guys, I said, here's what I want to do. And tell me if I'm crazy. And if I'm crazy, you know, obviously you guys know, I'll listen to y'all. No problem. You know, I'll bow down in front of like the recording gods if I need to, but I said, I want to do the tunes all the way through. Okay. Let me just do a cut. Let me do a take for each of these tunes all the way through. And then like, let's listen to what I did and let me replace anything I want to replace, you know, and that'll be the take. I was like, but by the end of each tune, you can hear a degree of like, I'm fighting for it. You know what I mean? That's like, because that's the actual end of that tune. Like,
urgency.
I'm not dropping in everywhere. It's the urgency of it. You know, if the breaths start getting deeper, it's because I just did the tune all the way through. And like 100%, no denying it. Like there were parts throughout the course of the session where I would hear the tune and I'd be like, I don't like how I did that. Drop me in there and let me redo that spot. 100% did it. And then there's plenty of areas where I'm like, let me double that up.
90% of your lead vocal tracks though on the session, they're start to finish.
That's amazing. Wow. I would never would have
a lot of gang vocals or lows.
Yeah.
So dropping the gangs.
Vocals,
yeah.
It's a whole take. It's a one drop.
That's great. I love that. I can't wait to listen to it again now.
Will I do it again? I don't know.
They're more desperate. The songs are all a little more desperate sounding towards the end, towards the latter half of the tune.
Like, and by the third day, I couldn't talk anymore, but I could still scream. That's
all that matters. That's all that matters. I don't know if like little things will make it to the final cut. So like I've had that. I don't want to call it unfinished because to me it sounds really fucking good. But there are little things that I hear that I'm like, it's really cool. And in terms of what you're saying, Rich, it's like there's like a little fret sound, and I think it's actually in Niagara Falls on one of the riffs that I just love this little.
There's even more. Kevin's he's finding little Easter egg nuggets like that.
Love that.
And there's even more.
I think there's a full intention for this to be like a headphone album. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ultimately,
I hear different things on it with each place. I like. So at first I listened to it on headphones, and I listened to it just on my phone, just without anything. just to hear whatever came through that.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Then the car, you know, and then I had a Bluetooth speaker, and I hear something different every
I
time.
just wanted to just correct one thing though, and just remember that what I sent you was just my edit. I didn't mix it. Kevin
Yeah,
went crazy on it.
no,
He's
it's
doing the
crazy.
mix.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah.
And you know, it's
Prepare your butt.
Dude, it's
it's
crazy.
important.
It's crazy.
Just to let you know, just to like cut you in.
I know.
It's like I put my dick right out on that table for you, Shane, and I was like, hey, "This is who I am. This is what I got."
I took it. Yeah.
Kevin took a much
Yeah.
larger medium
Yeah.
smoke.
Oh man. Oh, I can't wait for that.
Like,
I'm
blam.
ready.
This
I'm
is what
fucking
15
ready.
years gets you.
It's great. I think I told Rich, but so I've been driving around blasting it. Like I love, you know, vacations for me are, you know, with 2 young kids are just driving to the store to get milk. Right. And that's like, oh, thank God. So I'm gonna do that and like blasting songs. I'm like, how can I make this drive that's supposed to be 7 minutes, 20 some minutes? Right. And so I'm like, I pull into the parking lot and like I go to this one spot way in the back of the parking lot by a tree and a street light, and I'm blasting the new songs out loud, like windows down, and come out my car and I walk in to get milk. I didn't realize that there was just a bunch of people smoking cigarettes on a cigarette break, like right by the car. So somewhere there's a food line. There's a bunch of people from a food line who has heard a few
Throwing the
songs up
fuck down.
They were like, they looked at me like I was a serial killer. Like
Yeah.
it was like, what the fuck was that guy?
The best
just
part about that is that they don't realize that the song you're listening to is about my apple tree.
Just about
That's the best part. They have no idea.
That's great. That's great. All right. I won't keep you guys much longer, but I could do this for another 3 hours. But I was just gonna say a few words that and you guys could react to them. That maybe some people know, some people don't, but James Brown Mother Popcorn, what does that mean to any of you?
James Brown Mother Popcorn. There's a shriek that James Brown does on the extended cut of Mother Popcorn that is it's transcendent, is a break your heart and break your ears kind of shriek. And I've been chasing it my entire career, and I've yet to catch it.
Everyone should go look that up immediately.
It's really good. Yeah.
James Brown, yeah, one of the original screamers.
Yeah.
I mean,
I take a
one
lot
of
of
the all-time
influence from
greats.
those old schools.
Yes.
Oh God, absolutely.
yes. Please, everyone, go watch some James Brown live performances. He was nuts on stage.
Rich, what was the other one? What was it? It's Richard Dreyfuss and Jaws.
Oh
Is
yeah.
that the other? That's the other.
That's great.
That's me.
great.
Listen, Matt Hooper, Richard Dreyfuss and Jaws. I mean, that's like he's a bit of a North Star for me, just as far as like presentation, just general attitude, my level of irritation, when I have to get into that sort of mindset to perform. Yeah, like that, that's a good one. That scientific brain, but he's just in his own way with it. You know what I mean? Ah, tremendous, and that voice, God,
Yeah.
grating.
I love it.
Rating.
What about Hate Eternal?
Well, what about Hate Eternal? You're talking
What
about.
are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Hate Eternal? Does that mean anything to you?
You're talking about the Florida death metal band Hate Eternal.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
I mean, listen. If we're talking about anything, I really had to talk myself out of only exclusively speaking about the Hate Eternal record, I Monarch, for any time I was tapped to contribute to this interview. It's hard for me to not talk about that at any given time during the course of the day. It's the greatest death metal album ever made. And that's not a hot take. That's a very cultivated, well meditated upon opinion of fact for myself. You'll get some people I could already hear some voices in my head, like some people that we knew talking about some earlier death metal records and just whatever. And there's a sort of bias, whatever the first record you heard by somebody can
He's coming
typically
at me
be
right
like
now. He's coming at me.
what you think. Yeah.
I love King of all kings, bro.
John has
And
left
we're-
the screen. I'm almost expecting him to come into Jay's screen and punch him over this. Is that happening?
He's coming at me.
I Monarch is one of the greatest things ever recorded, and Derek Roddy's drumming is something that should be aspired to, in no matter what your discipline is. Like just the way he comes at the drums, whether it's just the fact that he did the entire record in one take, or his, and we were talking about organicness and naturalness. Like that record has that entire feel, and it's been a huge inspiration for me, like writing this new Sawtooth record. Like just just the way some things will drag. Like it's incredibly fast and it's incredibly precise, but there's a laziness to it that like it sounds kind of like oxymoronic, but it's fucking there. And like the way things will be dragged, and like just some of the other innovations, like all of Derek Roddy's like multi-pedal stuff, and just how Eric Rutan is the embodiment of just hard as fuck metal. Like death metal. His guitar tone, like the chord voices he uses, and his mouth voice like accompanying it, it's some of the sickest stuff like I've ever heard in my life, and I think I ever will. And there's a little bit of heartbreak I had. I don't know why. Rich, I don't know if you remember like the drive back from like your last day recording. Like I put on I Monarch, and in particular the title track I Monarch, and just like, man, I know we just made like this really cool record, but like we're never gonna be as fucking hard as this. It's never gonna be. We're never gonna be that.
It's not possible. It's not possible.
It's fucking not possible.
Do you mostly blame me, or what's your main blame? What's your main spite aimed at?
It's just all of it. And like this is something that like we've talked about over the past few weeks, and like I've thought about, for all of the writing of this record, like I've been aiming at two things. Like I've been aiming pretty fucking accurately, if you ask me. Like I've been aiming at I Monarch by Hate Eternal and Anthems to the Welcome at Dusk by Emperor. Like that's what I think I sound like. That's what I'm trying to communicate. And because of my,
I think you sound a little bit more Canadian.
Yeah.
with those.
Oh wait, no. Maybe a little more.
I'm gonna put you just a little bit blonde hair martyr dude with also those guys.
Maybe a little bit. I don't know. Like I just like
those guys with a fanny pack.
In my mind, this record is a follow up to that Emperor record. This is a follow up.
Awesome.
It's not a follow up to our stuff.
No.
There's parts of the new Sawtooth that is almost like an antithesis to Cuddle Monster. It doesn't mean it doesn't sound like Sawtooth, but clearly
on purpose.
I mean, you notice some spiteful.
Spiteful against your old songs, self-harm.
Very much on purpose. Like I have like there's a lot of choices that I've made where like I just like there's maybe two distinct palm mutes that happen on the record. Then there's absolutely no chugging.
None.
I just don't do any of that. I like really thick chord voices, but with like whatever lead. I like to put the lead in the middle, so it's just like a little harder to hear. Stuff like that. Like and just know whatever this is, like what kids are doing. What I used to do. Like just none of that.
Yep. It's funny.
None of that.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, thinking of we'll go back to the rec room when I saw you guys there.
Oh my god.
And I remember it was the first time I was really cognizant. I was just watching Jay. I feel like a lot of that show. And it was the first time I think it was Please Show. I forget what song it is. I think it's the second to last song on Cuddle Monster, like with a breakdown. Your hand is going up the fretboard, making something that I had always envisioned you going down. And I don't know why, seeing you go like this, I never seen anyone play the guitar. Whatever your hands were doing, it was crazy. And
Oh,
it-
that's
I listened to.
dude, here's a little life hack.
Little technical
Pro tip.
deal.
Yeah, 'cause you got my
I
guitar.
learned this. I learned this from Bob Gregory.
Yes.
If you pick up and then follow with your finger right after, like with your pick, so you're doing like 2 strokes, one right after the other.
Mhm.
You know, so
Bob
it's like
Gregory.
a.
Bob Gregory move.
That-
lazy sweep.
That's the riff that got him in the band.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, is that the?
That's-
Oh man.
That's the riff that you came. That's the riff that you finished that song with, and we were like, "Oh, I mean, that's
No
the
shit.
fucking dude." Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that riff is
Yeah.
insane.
You're gonna hear a lot
Insane
of
riff.
vengeful spite against that riff on this.
Yeah.
So now
No,
the whole new record is about fuck that riff.
Yeah.
As it should be. As it should be. But yeah, like so these new songs is a complete package. There's this one tone, like we're saying, it's insular. But
Yes.
they do talk to Cuddle Monster in a way, and it's out of spite, I think. Like even the last song on this record is
Yeah.
the antithesis to Good Touch, Bad Touch.
And
Oh sure, yeah.
all right, so I will say this: I am one of the few people that felt as though the split second get in Satan Would Sit in the Smoking Section is all that you should have gotten.
Oh yeah.
Just you
That's all
know,
that
this is
you
an
should have
ongoing
gotten.
spiteful conflict.
That's
Ongoing.
all that
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
should have gotten. 'Cause
But-
I don't want to hear all these kids saying, "I love the Sawtooth Grin. My favorite song is Good Touch, Bad Touch, 1, 2, 3." It's like
Do they say that? Do people say that?
I've heard it.
Oh
I've
my
seen it.
No.
It's,
I've heard
Nobody
it.
says
I've seen
that.
it.
it's a burden, heavy
Oh my
light
goodness.
crown. Heavy
Please
light
play
crown.
Good Touch, Bad Touch, 1, 2, 3. So
Imagine if
my
the guy
job-
at the rec room actually yelled that at you instead of Stairway to Heaven. He was
That's
like,
right.
play Good
play
Touch,
Good
Bad
Touch.
Touch.
It's like
You got
not
it.
gonna do it. So, but this final tune on the record, I guess we had to cultivate that spite very quickly because originally it didn't exist. The tune that wasn't the plan for what we were going to do with the accordion. The plan was send Rich in the big room for 40 minutes and have him just play, and then we would kind of parse through it and pick through it and see if we could find like interludes or like things that we could stick between the tunes and all that kind of stuff. But the tunes, they work so well in the order that they're in, and they work so well tight against each other that, when John kicked his first edit back to us, that was what he said. He was like, I can't like reasonably find somewhere between the tunes for it. So I just picked my favorite chunk of it and I put it at the end of the record. And immediately I thought to myself, like, oh, like, I wonder if that's going to be cool. And then I listened to it and I was like, that is pretty cool. And then they had told me that they wanted it to be its own tune. And that's kind of what got into my head about like, well, if it's going to be its own tune, then it really kind of has to be.
From my perspective, I was trying to cultivate, because one of the beautiful things about Cuddle Monster is that in between the songs, it gets split up by this Winnie the Pooh
Yeah.
samples.
It's just children's book samples,
And I'm like,
basically.
man, the hills and valleys created by that on Cuddle Monster give such a jarring impact, and it makes the flow of the album like so pleasurable, so painfully pleasurable. It's like that's what I'm always after. And so Rich is already doing an accordion part for the song "What Is Cremation," and he's got the accordion, and I'm like, man, what'll be sick is if we got a really like Rich digging deep into his soul, going full like Yoko Ono, like no fucks given. He's alone in a room with a great miking schema and an accordion, and the lights are off, and we just like, I don't know, maybe lock him in there for a few hours, just see
what happens.
Or date.
Bye.
And that's, over the course of 45 minutes. Yeah, he went through these stages of feeling a little awkward, a little put on the spot, to then like sort of just like, just sort of vibing out. and we all sort of came back with like, all right, we got 45 minutes of some like weird time, some weird feelings in the room with Rich.
Yeah, it's like some parts. I did some polka in there. I did a little fucking circusy shit.
Let's get the full thing on record at some point.
I like fucking. I'm dragging this like the piano bench around in there. It's just like it's nonsense. But
that's awesome.
I said John's gonna find something that's salvageable in there.
So I take it up. I start spicing things up, and I start thinking, okay, what's the what does this have to tell us? What do we have here? And I'm trying to fit it in between the songs and the record, and I'm like, these songs are so fucking brutal. The moment of silence is actually such a reprieve. Like it means nothing. I can't fit it in anywhere where it makes sense.
Yep.
But I kept getting to the end of the record and being like, you can't just cut it off. Like when I go to a movie and I hear a great story and I see a great story and they go bam and now done, over, resolution, the end, and you are sitting there with cum all over you. And the lights go up. Like you can't just, it's that kind of movie theater that
can you send me the address to that theater?
You can't just get up and walk out. It's like you need a moment to just like pause and reflect. And
you need some end credits. You need some
mercifully,
end credits.
they give you the credits. They roll the credits, and you can like sit there for a moment, transition out of the story and back into like life. And so I'm like stitching together this accordion thing, and it's like sort of coming together as this loop, and it's like, bro, this is the credits. This is the credits music right here. We're rolling the credits. It's a gentle, it's letting you off just a little more like, okay, and now it's time to go back into the real world. Having seen everything I'm so sorry we just showed you all that. I know it's a lot. It's very traumatic. And it sort of lets you down. But then Rich wrote more poetry for it. And it ended up looping all the way back to this sort of reoccurring David Lynch Fire Walk with Me, Twin Peaks, sort of a chant, a memento mori, a sort of I don't know, just a parting, sort of like a divorce from the experience of our album.
I said if it's the antithesis of good touch, bad touch, it also can't be an instrumental. I think was my headspace. Is that it can't be an instrumental then.
It's great.
You sound opposite feeling.
You sound awesome on that track.
Oh, thank you.
It's great. It's
I recorded it with this.
Woo. Oh, sick. Perfect. It's great. And then the song that comes before that ends with that like big riff.
Yeah.
And like I think that's the song that comes before it. I've listened to it 1,000 times and it's still like this amorphous.
The climax of the record. The climax of the record is the build up. The song is called That's Just Swell.
That's Just Swell.
It's the build up. Sprinkles chord progression. It's like, I mean, we're there at the zombie apocalypse and we're ready to accept our fate and tragically move on past this mortal life. Here it is, gonna get eaten alive. And
it sounds so good.
Well, I mean, it's about like these great neighborhood block parties that we do on my street. And then how but also we got like a lot of copperheads around here. So you got to watch out.
You got to watch out.
50% of reality is good.
That's it.
That's it.
I had a real end of Blue Velvet kind of attitude going into that, where it's like, you see this, it's like this nice sort of idyllic scene, and then it comes down below the grass, and then it's all this shit that's underground. You know what I mean? It's sort of like,
All right, now I want to ask a quick question, Sprinkle. If you ever get the opportunity, if we as a band ever get the opportunity to perform this album for Eric Rutan in some context, how best can we as your bandmates, as the people that love you and support you and understand,
we do,
how best can we back you up on a Rutan, like a private concert for Rutan?
What kind of weird fucking what
it's a hypothetical scenario.
We're in a room and Eric Rutan's sitting in a chair and we're gonna perform for him.
We're in Tampa, Florida. We're in Tampa Bay watching the Lightning perform against.
Oh God!
And we meet Eric Rutan. He says, "Bro, Sawtooth Grin, that's sick. I'm Eric Rutan. Come back to my house. Play me a song."
Can we just send him the record?
That's just send it to him.
No,
Yeah.
I'm saying hypothetical.
Break into his
scenario.
house. I
We're
think is the
there.
right
He's in a leather
approach.
chair. He's like, "Sing me a song, Hobbit. Tell me, Master Hobbit. These great halls were once filled with the most metal of death.
Yeah.
How can we, as
You have to call us the Fat Hobbit, though, right? I mean, that's important.
old fat
Fat Hobbits.
Speaking of that, wait,
Periwinkle
do you guys plan on playing shows at some point? Is that in
for
the
Eric Route
cards?
in his
For,
home?
other than
Yeah.
That's
Eric
really
Montana?
that's the big plan.
That's it.
I'm saying, do you really just want me to get back to my Derek Roddy obsession? Is that what this whole conversation is about? Is that
I would
what
I would like to see you with two. I need you to have another snare drum. I need you to have two snare drums.
Heck yeah, two
and
snares.
multiple pedals.
I know that you've been holding on to this. You've been subtly earlier when you spoke. I felt the
The airing of grievances.
animosity
Yeah.
about Derek Roddy. We've had that VHS since 1997.
Yeah.
All right, Shane. To answer your question more seriously,
No, I'm going to break into Eric Rutan's house
there is
now.
a
and
live
hide.
performance in the future, and we're not going to say anything about it until exactly when it happens.
Yeah.
Just give me enough time to get there. That's
Okay.
all I'm asking.
No.
That's fair. That sounds fair.
No. That's okay.
And
You can tell
Eric
me
You
Rutan,
can
now.
watch it on,
you're out
you can watch
there.
it on Instagram like everybody else.
Perfect.
And if we're not there, we will come. We will play for free.
That's perfect. Damn. Oh, I was gonna ask.
I love that last track on I Monarch though. The instrumental weird jam. It's like all of a sudden
All right,
it's
so
like
good.
festival track.
Yeah, that fucking shit is great. It is great. That's another thing I'm gonna put in my rotation now. But I was thinking of a Hate Eternal because it's funny. I used to think of Cuddle Monsters being symphonic, and that's before I even knew Jay you were into like botch and stuff. So like, is that a thing that's been with you for as long as Hate
You
Eternal?
mean Bach, the
before?
hardcore band, or Bach, the
Oh,
classical composer?
is it Bach or Botch? I heard.
Bach.
I don't know. Who
Oh,
it is.
yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
do you say?
Bach.
Isn't it Bach?
Bach.
Bach.
It's
Uh,
Bach
I
humbug, but you could just
Johann?
say be okay. Like the
I don't
Hard Bach
fucking know.
Cafe.
I like that they're, I like that new homonym right there. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Botch.
Jay.
Same thing.
Why don't you
It's-
pontificate on the Johann Sebastian versus the Seattle grind hardcore? Why don't you
Right.
Yeah.
Compare and contrast.
Johann Sebastian Bach.
Johann Sebastian Bach.
Botch.
Dude, how is that not a band already? It's got to be.
It must be.
It's gotta
I did no that has not been with me for as long. I got bored like 3 or 4 years ago with like what I was practicing, what I was playing. So like I was just looking around on Amazon and like it was literally just a suggestion. Like Amazon was like, we think
Things
you
you
might
might
like
like.
this. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it was his partitas and sonatas for solo violin. And I got that about 3 years ago, and I haven't had my face out of it since. Yeah, that's pretty much just been my musical life for like the last like 3 years. Like outside of working on this new record, like it's all I really listen to. It's all I'm playing. It's all that's all that's really going on for me.
Yeah, I really enjoy the videos of you posting of you playing it, the parts.
I really appreciate that, man. I've been coming to a place where like I'm ready to like kind of put that down, and I wanted to sort of put a period on that with like I want to try to play an entire fugue all the way through, and I think this weekend John's going to be staying at my house when we go to finalize like the mixes on Saturday. I think we're going to try to record me playing the fugue from Violin Sonata number 3, and it's
Great.
yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
That's really exciting.
Don't let his false modesty fool you. It's the least spiteful, least ornery, prickish part of his life. It's prayer for him. And
Yeah.
it will bring fucking tears to your eyes to see him do it well. To see him do it. His level of focus is something that I can't even. I'm so awed by. It makes me feel like everything's worth it.
Yeah, I've rewatched a lot of those videos that you'd post of you playing just the parts, and they're incredibly beautiful. I don't know if I've said it or not, but like I would pay, and I think a lot of people would. I don't even know if you could do it, but like if you sold a record of you just playing that, I was writing to it. I would take it and be like, I wish I could just
Oh yeah.
forever, because it would put me in a place that was nice to write in. I really enjoyed that.
Well, I mean, there like one thing like I could bring to the table, because like people have been playing this music forever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like since Bach has been around, it's been done like so many times. And I mean, there's something intrinsically personal for me to do it for myself. But like if I was gonna bring that out into the world, I think doing it on like an electric guitar, like with like maybe like a little dirty fucking tone to it, could have a little bit of appeal. Like that has.
It's also a very meta level of spite and anger, actually. Very meta.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Gotta have a little bit of that. Can't
It's at
help
the
it.
very least. It's at the very least an unoccupied space for you to be in.
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
kinda nice.
totally.
I think that's
It's
great.
good.
got
He
this
said
one
it's
view
Elliot.
all the way down, though. He can play the whole composition. So this Friday we're gonna
Dude, that's awesome.
track it.
I hope
I'm
you
thinking
all get
no,
to see that.
Saturday
Saturday.
morning. I think it's got to be Saturday
We're gonna
morning.
track it with the sun coming in, and we're gonna try to get a raw deal of
Incredible.
this.
That's
man's
so exciting.
obsession.
I'm
Good.
really nervous about it. Like I mean, I try to put aside a few hours every night to like work on it, and like sometimes I just, sometimes it's just not happening. Like last night,
Hey,
it just
don't let his
wasn't
false
happening.
modesty fool you. When you're talking about Sawtooth's composition, just seems deeper, danker, more amazing than others. I'm telling you, this guy he's comparing the devil over his shoulder, judging him and saying, "Nah, that's cliche. That's bullshit. Don't do that." It's Johann Sebastian Bach. He's not worried. He's like,
At least it's not just Sebastian Bach, right? That would be a real
Yeah.
bummer.
Imagine.
New Jersey's own? That's not a
That'd be a
problem.
bummer.
is that
Good
the
point.
more than words
Good
of
point.
oh you
Oh,
have
that's
to
extreme. How dare you? That's extreme. That's so offensive.
That guy.
Name another great band.
I'm sorry.
That's
Dude,
amazing.
am I really pretentious? Like I feel like I've listened to a lot of stuff that's
No,
come out of my
not at
mouth.
all.
Yeah, you're
during
pretentious
this.
as hell, dude. Just own
I
it.
feel like I'm really fucking.
No, dude.
Thank you for
if-
shooting me
if,
straight.
You're the most
If you are,
pretentious homeless guy
I
I've
am.
ever met.
I'm pretty bad too. Then. But I relate to what you're saying a lot, and I'm probably pretty pretentious too. I went to SUNY Purchase, for Christ's sake.
Oh yeah.
No
You're
offense,
worse.
anyone went to SUNY Purchase might be listening.
Same.
I love SUNY Purchase. I
Well,
love
hey,
it.
wait. I just want to stay on that one topic for a second with SUNY Purchase, because
Yeah.
Sprinkle, it's like, bro, you go to a machine shop and fucking clean shit and grease out of the gears of trucks for 40 hours a week for money.
Yeah.
But it's like, when we were kids, we used to go to shows at SUNY Purchase,
Yeah.
hang in Westchester, and you would just be like, damn, like, it's so sexy how smart everybody is here.
Yeah.
What a boner I'm getting right now. Just being around like
Yeah.
smart kids. So it's like, bro, you're always gonna have that second guessing yourself. Like, am I just being pretentious talking about? It's like, dude, your emotional sincerity has always been pure as the drummer. I'm here to attest. And same for Rich. It's like, Rich has always been such a fan in his heart of heavy music. He's not a true, he doesn't really hate everything that everybody's putting out there. It's like, he fucking loves it so much that he just expects better shit.
I just expect it. I would need
Exactly.
listen.
He's just like, damn it, you rocked me.
I'm
Keep
like a
rocking me.
disappointed father. Don't
Yeah.
disappoint me.
That's why you guys work so well together.
I've been
that's
watching
exactly
this
it.
unfold for 30 years, man.
I know.
25
It's
years.
crazy. It's crazy. Oh my God. It's amazing. And then John, I forget just how much you've fucking done though. I mean, you say you're not proud of a lot that you've put out record wise, but like
Nothing.
I can think of fucking Negative Hate. Like that shit we were in, like, Pat, who was a drummer in my band, he's one of my favorite drummers. He would nerd out over you.
Mongrel with number 12, I'm very proud of. And then
Dude.
Navigating the Alpha Trail was a like a smaller like DIY EP I did with Negative Hate, where me and Chuck just burned all the CDs and we literally just like stapled. But that mix was so sick. It was so brutal. I don't know. It was like there's certain mixes that come out on records where you get those at the most hardcore, antagonistic, brutal death moments.
Yep.
You well up with tears. You're
Yep.
overwhelmed with the
Mhm.
emotional like clarity in that moment,
Mhm.
and it like takes you over. And I'm like, what are the moments on the records that I've been on? I don't know. Way back in the day, Negative Hate.
Yeah.
Definitely some moments on Mongrel.
Were you in Close My Eyes?
Yeah.
He was.
You were in Close My Eyes, right?
So was
I
Jay.
was about to say
Really?
it,
So was
man.
Jay?
So
No
yeah.
So was
shit.
Jay.
No,
Yeah.
didn't they replace you with a robot? Is that what
Yes.
happened?
They replaced
They-
me with a robot and they replaced him with
Yeah.
nobody. I don't know. Well, we replaced you with this like 5 foot nothing tough guy from suffering. That was like,
Yeah.
That's
but he had the
right.
hottest girlfriend ever. Anyway,
That's
that's not
right.
important.
No, but that shit was wild. That shit was wild. But it's funny. I think YouTube must have known I was going to talk to you guys tonight because last night, and I was going to, next thing in my words of just saying, wanted you guys to respond to him. I was going to ask you, John, about a drummer. And this video came up of you drumming on tour with Horse the Band. And I noticed that you were talking about Ginger Baker. I think you commented on it. So I was wondering, like, what's up? Ginger Baker was a fucking pirate.
Oh man, I just hung out with our boy Spooky Suede. He's our manager. He's in charge of this band. If you need any booking,
Yeah.
if you need any help with your life, motivational speaking, money.
You want to get into China? We could get you.
If you want to have
deal.
the China deal, which we now
word?
have, the
Oh,
China
word?
deal.
Yeah.
If
Damn.
you want that, it's all on offer with SpookySuede.com management.
Spooky Swig. We got it. He needs a fucking.
That
commercial.
sounds made up. That's
No,
But
I like
anyway,
this
sounds
guy.
made up.
So-
I like this guy. I like
Me
it.
and Spooky are watching the old Ginger Baker documentary. My like third or fourth time, but wow, what really hit me is that nothing's changed. What was the point of the question you asked me? Because
I was just
before go on
asking-
the tangent I'm about
Sure.
to go on.
No,
I
no.
just wanna make
I
sure
I just wanted to say Ginger Baker basically and see where you're going with it.
okay.
This is perfect.
So here we are. We're watching Chad Smith, the Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer, and the director of the movie, be like, "We're promoting this film in Hollywood, California, and Los Angeles, and we're gonna hang out with the crazy old kook, that Ginger, and we're gonna like smoke some real live cigarettes, and we're gonna like talk a little trash, and see if he opens up, maybe he talks a little shit about the old Clapton, maybe." And I'm watching, and Ginger's in his chair. Yes, handsome. That's amazing. Where'd that come from? Where'd you cut it out of?
Amazing.
I love that. Wow.
Can I show you what's behind the tape?
Yeah. Sorry. Hold on.
It's all good. This is great. What do we got?
Oh, yeah.
So I made like a sunflower design.
Oh, cool.
It was out of a tissue box.
That's awesome.
We have a tissue box above our toilet seat that says, "If you sprinkle when you tinkle," sorry, sprinkle, wipe the seat.
Yep.
But then
That's
when they
great.
empty out, they turn into craft mode. Oh, we have a hidden secret underneath.
Ooh.
Is that a needle? Is that a sewing needle?
I found it in the blanket.
Get back in the garage, in the bedroom. Do not hurt yourself.
I won't.
That's
He's
great.
just telling that was an elaborate thing to explain to me that he found a sharp object.
Yeah. Like, hey, there's needles in here. There's sewing needles in my bed. But I made art out of it.
So Ginger Baker's on his couch. He's got the glasses. And he can't see anything. And Chad Smith is like, "Hey, Ginger, so, they're treating him like an old person. And understandably so, because he looks horrendous and he's octogenarian.
He's had a long life, yeah.
But Chad Smith, it's clear that Chad Smith is like, "I grew up as a child. That one time I went to a Cream concert. I've been telling the same story about the one time that I hung out with Ginger Baker and he shook my hand. He told me this indispensable tome of wisdom." And I'm like, "Hey," and there's Chad Smith smoking the American spirits. And he's like, "See, I'm still cool. I'm a rock and roll wild child from the 60s, just like you." So Ginger, anyway, do you remember this one concert you played that one time, blah, blah, blah?
Mhm.
And Ginger, who's in his mid-80s, can't walk, who's had the most rock and roll life
Yeah.
of all time. He looks at Chad Smith. He looks at the director of the film that he just starred in, and which is why the reboot of his career and the money that's fueling the tour that he's on, and blah, 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 blah. And he takes all this in and he goes, I barely fucking know you. You're a fucking piece of shit. Your drumming is whack. Red Hot Chili Peppers, and the bass player is fantastic, but you're a schmuck. Anyway, can we talk about the new record that I'm bloody working on? Because this is going to be the record. He's in his mid-80s, and he's like, everybody stop sucking my cock for 2 seconds because I need to tell you about Hate Eternal Iron Monarch.
Right. Yeah, dude. There was an article written on a profile on Ginger Baker in Rolling Stone. I don't know, must have been 10, 15 years ago. That was one of the, like, an article I remember very clearly making me be like, I want to write articles like this. It wasn't even how like the writer really did it. It was just like being in someone's presence that long that was wild, like Ginger was. I was like, yeah, I need to find those people. It was great.
He tore he has his 4th wife and he lives in Nigeria and
Right.
have a very McMansion-y bullshit house with golf green grass. It's gotten very a sad, weird version yet.
Yep.
It's exactly what he wanted. Anyway, 2 armed marauders came to his home to burglarize him at age 71 in 2006, I believe. They didn't know he was there. He rocked them both in the chin with his cane. It was in the New York Times News. He pulled an arm off of one of the men. The man was malnourished and impoverished and desperate.
He pulled his arm off?
Like a zombie.
Pulled one man's arm off and beat the other guy until the ambulance and the police rode up. Age 71.
Wow.
That didn't happen.
Wow.
That didn't happen.
That's just the opening of it, right?
Didn't go to jail, not a single problem, not a single legal
crazy.
issue.
That's crazy. Yeah, I think you were saying something in the video that I was watching. You commented on about you had learned to move from him. It's a crazy video for people. The drumming you're doing in that. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but it was wild. You took the hi-hat off, I think.
My whole approach to how to integrate jazz with what we do is from Ginger. Jazz. Ginger's whole life struggle was how to integrate that he's a jazz drummer into all his passions. Everything cool I've ever done is from Ginger Baker. Every time I've ever taken a hi-hat off and put it on the snare and played it, or on a tom or whatever, long years before, but Mark Giuliano, whatever. But anytime I've ever done anything like that, that's all from Ginger Baker. Yeah. Ginger Baker, Ginger could swing before any of these whiteys even knew what the fuck was going on, bro. Like, bro, he drum battled with Art Blakey and Elvis Jones. He drum battled with them, and they were like, "You're one of us." In
incredible.
And then he went to late 60s, early 70s, Harlem, New York, right hot off the heels of Charlie Parker and Miles Davis's Boom. And he was like, I am one of you motherfuckers. And he got himself in there and they were like, yes, you are.
Yeah, he can prove himself.
And then he just quit it all. He quit Cream, quit everything, went to Nigeria, went to the source.
Yep. It's
and
unbelievable.
The Nigerian Nelson Mandela, Fela Kuti, is there. Is like, yeah, man, you're cool. Come, you're now in my band. You're the drummer now.
Of Nigeria.
That's how cool Ginger was. But
he's the Nigerian Nelson Mandela.
The Nigerian Nelson Mandela is Fela Kuti. You think of South African apartheid, anti-oppression as Nelson Mandela. Mm-hmm. You think of the person that was like, this colonialism sucks and our lives suck and we need to rise up and kick ass right now. You think of Nelson Mandela. But at the same time, Fela Kuti was doing that very Bill Clinton style, saxophone in hand. But up in Nigeria, and it was more complicated and ugly because it wasn't just white on black oppression, it was black on black oppression.
Right.
But Fela Kuti was the guy. And dude, he was living in he was living in like war, like the trench warfare. And he was just like, yeah, whatever, I'm coming here. I'm Ginger Baker. I'm going
so wild.
In the sewer with everybody.
He chose to go there.
For real, that guy's cool. We can all clearly see he's cool.
Freaking awesome. It's awesome.
And he's still going. Still playing.
Still going. It's
putting cymbals on snares, playing the rudiments like when you need your union card, doing hokey pokey things. I saw it's crazy. But the point is it's like you're always gonna be trying to integrate. If you fell in love with jazz first, you're always gonna be like, but how do I reconcile the paradox of what jazz is with this stuff? And then you get to the Sawtooth Grin and you're like, well, No rules here.
To me, it seems like a seamless transition, whether you're talking about Bach or you're talking about, Ginger Baker. And
I'm sorry, and I'm gonna stop talking for the rest of the
no, you can go as long as you want.
But I just was talking with Sprinkle, and one of my favorite things about Sprinkle's guitar playing is that he plays on the very edge, technically, of the tempo that he can handle, like intellectually and emotionally. He's always playing right on that razor's edge, and there's a strain to it that you can't fake. You can't program it. You can't do it in MIDI. You can't quantize it. There's a strain of like just pushing. Everybody said that exact same thing about Charlie Parker the whole time. They were like, Charlie is right on the edge of what he can handle. And I'm sorry, Sprinkle, I'm blowing a lot of smoke right now, but man, when I hear you really go for it, when I hear you really, where you're like, that's it, when the spite and the anger gets inside of you and you're like, fuck it, I'm doing this. And I hear you play, I'm like, dude, there it is. There it is. There's that sacred, intangible, tacit thing that you can't, I don't know, you can't quantify it, can't quantize it, but that guy's got it.
No.
I'm addicted to it.
Yep. That's why I think I respond to it so much and so many other people. I mean, it's crazy to think that what is called a monster, 16 minutes, that has become such a thing, and people are still finding it. Like there's younger kids who I'll go through the comments sections on YouTube and be like, I've listened to this band for 6 years. Someone said recently, like, wow, that's amazing. It's amazing that 16 minutes can make that much of an impact. And I think that's why it always resonated with me and my friends, is not just like that outsider antagonism, spite shit, but that what you're saying, John, about always just, it's like ahead. It's like when your thoughts are going too fast, you're trying to keep up with them, but you're not actually at the panic attack yet. But like you're trying to like stay in your skull.
Just that's right at that razor's edge where I'm like, I have one foot totally in control. I have one foot totally breaking down and losing it.
Right. And I'm always picturing, I can't divorce the image of what I said earlier of watching Jay with that piece of paper at the rec room. And then thinking of like DJ and John, it's like almost on the record. I'm like, how are they doing this? And then Rich on top of it. And nothing sounds forced. Nothing. It just keep going back to the word organic. It's just it just works. You guys.
Sprinkle, how do you feel that? How do you feel? Because I will tell you that Sprinkle doesn't think about mathematics when he's playing music.
Right.
He thinks about mathematics more than any of us in his normal day-to-day life. He loves math and arithmetic a lot, but mathematics. This man is obsessed, but he doesn't think about all of it. Sprinkle, how would you compartmentalize when people say math core and you think about your relationship to math? How would you compartmentalize this duality?
This is a whole lecture series that we could get into here.
The man loves math. Doesn't think about it when he picks up a guitar, but he knows more about math than anybody I know. So
it
just
somehow.
It makes me think of like, because I've been working like some form of like blue collar shit over the last like couple of years, and like one person will find out that like I didn't finish, but like I went to school for mathematics. I'm like, oh, he's a math guy. Like, so like they'll be, I don't know, framing a room or whatever. And like, it's like, what's 116 and 2/3 plus,
got it, bro.
7 and 5/8.
Wow.
No, I don't got it.
You're not the arithmetic, but he sees
no, dude, that's the point, is like, I don't got it. And like, they think like because, oh, I'm a math guy, that means like I'm just a calculator.
Yeah, you're just in your head.
Calculator. And it's what I think of when I think of like mathcore and like iterations of mathcore that I see in the world around me right now, where it's just like, I'm going to do something 7 times, and I'm going to do it 5 times. And I'm going to do a whole different thing one time, then another thing one time, then another thing one time, then another thing one time. And that's a song. And it's like, okay, cool. But why can't we get any deeper there? Like, why can't we get any fucking, there's all these memes that I see like on like the, certain blogs. Like, I don't want to say any names out loud. Just certain blogs about like, just these kids are trying to do it and they're stringing all these time signatures together and it's like, I don't know, man. Like I fucking, I feel all of Sawtooth music in 4/4. Like,
We don't even think in bar lines. We just think subdivision.
Right.
yeah,
No, it's just, is it in triplets or is it in sixteenths or is it in quintuplets?
Hey man,
Right.
yeah,
everything is in 4/4 if you stop counting like a fucking nerd.
yeah.
That
Nerd about it.
quote of the
Exactly.
night. Yeah, that's
DJ,
great.
thank you for cutting right through that. Yeah,
Great.
fucking exactly. And like,
Mhm.
you know, there's if I don't know, like the sort of math that I'm into, like getting into like, you know, like actual like number theory and like topology and stuff like that, like the way a proof is structured and the way mathematical thought is structured, like there's a lot of fucking creativity to it. It's not just like an algorithmic, like, you know, just say, oh man, so just some of this math core stuff that I hear now, it just fucking bums me out.
I think math
It
core
really
became a
bums me out.
synonym. It became a synonym for just doing whatever you want randomly and throwing it in a bag and then spitting it back out. You know, and like
Yeah,
Well,
I
or
hate
the
terms.
emotional experience of like, I don't know what's going on right now. So math.
Yeah,
yeah,
math.
if
And
math
you're
core,
like, no, what? It's not math. That's ambiguity. That's
well,
like,
if it
you just don't know what's
involved
going on.
actual math, I wouldn't be capable of it. That's one thing. I wouldn't be able to do it. You know.
I think Jay, I think you having that like math mind, even though it's like it's open, it goes in back to that idea of the exposed nerve, where you're not applying it to your guitar writing and stuff, but it's there, so it's applying itself maybe subconsciously to everything.
well, it's like there's different like facets, you know, there's different like there's different elements, there's different dimensions is a better word. There's different dimensions that you can like alter stuff through to generate like, you know, like fucking new ideas. Like you don't just have to, and you know, what I imagine is what I used to do when I was like 20 years old, is just like, if something's happening here, just move it up here. And then like, now you have a whole new riff.
Hey, look
You know
at
what I
that.
mean?
Yeah.
And music is such a rich, complex, dynamic, subjective, but also objective like language that you can learn, and you can you can say things. And it's you know,
and you don't have to mean the literal meaning of what you're saying.
Right.
You can
Yeah.
imply things. You can infer things in how you say it. That's his playing. That's how he plays.
Yep.
That he says 3 meta levels of meaning in every riff. You're just like, wait a second. Oh, there's spite and the anger. Oh my God, there's so much like innocent child and beauty. Oh, you're also kind of like taking the piss out of somebody right now. Oh, you know, it's like,
Yep.
the way you
it's
say it is so clean.
Yep. I really think that's why I can go back to any Sawtooth song and these new ones in particular and be like, I hear new things each time. There's so much put into it, whether it's like the thought or just the emotion, you know, there's something really happening. And like music in general, like helped save my life over the past many years, especially the last few years. You know, yes, I have family and all that stuff, but music is like very, 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 very important to me. It's always on in our house. Our kids are always listening to music. I have kids at drum set and keyboard immediately. I just want them to be around music. Music is everything.
I think that same veiled meaning and insinuation, I think that Jay is expressing in his riffage, I think you will find that same thing lurking in Rich's lyrics.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, he alluded earlier that like, he's like, yeah, I was tempted to be a bit of a smart ass. It's like, the smart ass is still there. Don't worry. He's
there.
Still there. He's your court jester and he's here for you.
Yep.
But there's so much nuance in the subtext. And
a lot of effort.
It matches so brilliantly to Sprinkle's riffage, because I get that from Sprinkle, from your harmony so much. It's like when you introduce a melody and you're like, here's this character and his name is Jack the Melody. And Jack is going down a dark road, and Jack is not thinking about the dark monster over there, but and onward down we
we're simpatico, baby. We're simpatico.
The two of you seem to mirror each other's ability to do this double speak, where you can comment on the ridiculousness You don't take yourselves too seriously, and you can express things that start to just come out and hit. But like there's a tenderness lurking all in between these little spaces with you.
Oh yeah,
where it's like, damn, there's a raw nerve in there. There's a raw exposed nerve.
that's it. No, I hear
around.
those moments a lot on this record.
Both
They
of them.
last. Yeah, I mean, you guys been playing together, Rich?
Me and DJ are over here just like keeping time, making
Just
sure
holding
our
on.
is held together.
Cleaning
Hold
this
it down.
together. Yeah,
We're holding it down.
Time out.
damn good job at it.
We're just
But-
like, these are the rhythms. This is the key signature. We have control over the like basics.
Says the man.
These
Says
guys
the
have
man
so
who
much spite and anger built up.
says the man who just put in a genre defining / defying performance on this record. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, it's unreal.
absolutely. You know,
It's unreal. I can't wait to hear people's reactions to them listening through. Like I'll listen for Rich, and then I'll listen to Jay, and I'm listening to DJ's bass. This was really one of the first.
You get a
things I
whole
noticed.
different record each time you
Holy
listen
fuck.
for one.
It's crazy,
for an
yeah.
individual.
And John, your drums are fucking nuts. I mean,
Yeah.
people they're in for a real fucking gift. And
I've never played a cooler because it's only been one theme the whole album. I didn't even try to introduce some like, oh, but I'm also working on this. It's like we landed on this one feeling that started in 2010 when Sprinkle was just like, I'm tired of like anything that makes me think of anything.
Yes.
Please
Yeah.
play it fast
Yes.
and hard.
yes.
I don't want to think about anything.
Yes.
Stop trying to like Sprinkle. You remember, you were like, I'm your
Yeah,
best
yeah.
friend. I know you. I know what you got. I know who you like. I know who you fucked. I know who you listen to. I know the whole thing. So please let's just make the song. And it's very hard to get there. I'm always wanting to impress you with all my things I know. But we got
As you
hung up on
should.
this Penny Blast thing.
Yeah.
Which is this whole other way to express.
There's
So
not a
it's-
single
it's-
straightforward blast on the record, I don't think.
It's
just
it's a different way to express like fast and hectic.
Yeah.
It's just
It's,
like
agile. It's very agile.
Yes.
And
That's another
it's
good way of saying it.
it's incredible because like we've come to call it like Penny Blast coming from Chris Penny, the Dillinger Escape Plan.
Mm.
I can only think of like a few times, maybe twice, that like he's done it on a Dillinger Escape Plan record, and then Billy Reimer throws it around a little bit. But for the most part, it hasn't really been. It's just been this technique, just this hang that's been like laying around. That
And Reimer, who I love and would definitely be offended by what I'm about to say. Reimer missed the pot of gold that he was sitting on, and I don't know. I think he didn't have the forced discipline that I had of Sprinkle just being like, dude, you know what I really love is just those Penny Blasts though, because and what it taught me was like, if you can say it, you have to say it with rim shots. You have to say it as hard as you can say it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
because anything that needs to be said with a little more subtlety is not going to work for Sawtooth, because Sawtooth has to like fully put its dick on the table at all moments. And even if it contradicts itself in the same sentence, we're committing and we're going. And there's something about the Penny Blast, that 185 BPM, it's such an awkward tempo that it forces you to say like, I'm now playing at the edge of my ability to make it still musical. And so now I'm straining and I'm suffering. And that is the sound of this band.
Yeah.
You're
Playing
hitting
right at the
hard,
razor's edge.
Hitting hard.
hitting really hard.
Hitting as
and
hard
that
as you
brings me
can.
back around. You know,
His pick on the strings.
while we're on the subject of Hate Eternals, I Monarch,
We're not.
While we're still on the same.
That was the
exact
subject
subject.
90 minutes ago, dude.
For me, it never did. I'm with you.
it's just like there's plenty of like fast blast beats out there, but like what makes Derek Roddy so fucking intense is that he's playing that fast, but he's hitting the fuck out of the snare drum.
Yes.
He is beating on that thing at that tempo.
You
And it's
remember
just
when the
like,
first time we
oh
watched
my
that
God.
video and it was like, it's full strokes. Like,
he's blasting
blasting.
full
full stroke. And we were
Crazy.
both like, that's a whole other dimension because that's painful for him. He's
Right.
suffering for that right now.
Yeah.
There's no way to do that without hurting.
Well, we had seen
As
a
you
lot of
should.
times where in interviews where people would ask him about how he was how could you possibly be so fast? How could you possibly be so fast? And he'd say in every interview that I ever saw, he was like, it's not about how fast I am. It's like,
Yeah.
it's about how the consistency and how hard I'm hitting, it's like,
And the hard.
yeah.
So I'm coming out of like a 10-year purgatory nether realm of not nurturing my playing. And I come back in and Jay's like, I only like it when you're pedal to the metal. That's the only sound that doesn't make you feel spiteful and angry, miserable. He's like, the only thing that you do that like soothes me, that makes me feel calm is when you're suffering. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Great.
Beautiful. I got it.
That's the correct input for every drummer ever. Just fucking hit it hard.
Yes.
Never
Yes.
stop hitting it.
well,
That's
because
it.
DJ, you especially know, it's like, because you're married to a drummer, the other great drummer of the Number 12 Bucks like you, Michael Cadnar, your ex-wife, your current heterosexual wife,
100. We just got done with tour 2 days ago.
Yeah.
he knows my pain because you're always like, well, if you want me to go faster, I need to relax. I need to like get the technique,
No.
where I go smoother, faster, more control.
Mm.
And these
You got
two
6
guys-
days a week that we're not rehearsing to figure it out.
Yeah.
Show up and play hard.
Bro, these
That's
two guys
crazy.
are like, no, Sawtooth is about spite and anger
Mhm.
against yourself, against the world, against everything, against your parents, against your children, against everything there is. Push against. The conflict is what will generate the good stuff.
It's very spiteful, and it's at the very least, it's a passive aggressive pissiness,
Which I love. Which we need more of. I don't think there's enough of that right now.
They know all my awkward tempos where I'm like, oh, I could make this groove so much like nicer if we just like slowed it down or sped it up by 10 BPM. And they're like, no, nice.
Yeah, good.
That's what we're after.
Wrong band.
Well, isn't that also
Yeah.
the fun
Sure.
thing, too?
Awkward
Like,
zone.
we get in the awkward zone because it's like sometimes you could play it better faster, but that's not the vibe.
That's
No,
not
no.
what we're doing.
I'm
Yeah,
ready
I
I
know
know,
to
sometimes
so
when
a lot
I'm
of
doing
us
like because it's the same on bass. When I'm doing 3 fingers, it's
Right.
easier to play. Well, it's way easier to play triplets, but it's easier to play straight 16ths at a certain tempo. And then if I have to slow it down a little bit, I can't do it with these. But doing it with these, then my brain starts going 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Fuck,
Sprinkle lives at that tempo.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
his
Yeah.
whole world. He lives right at the
160,
edge of,
175.
yes, of like, ugh, this is the awkward phase. This is the medieval page boy haircut in between.
Yeah.
You're like,
It's not
damn,
short hair, but it's
he
not
just
long
lives
hair
there.
either, man.
He
I don't
just,
know
that's
what
his
the
whole
fuck
world.
That's incredible.
And you can
I really,
I think
I
you're
need-
gonna hear it on this record.
I need to hear these songs live. I hope if it's on Instagram, that's fine. But I need to be in that audience and scream
Yeah.
with you guys.
Where
so
do you live now,
fucking bad.
Shane?
I'm in West Virginia in the Panhandle. I will fly anywhere.
Yeah, all right. You might need to be driving to Chicago or something, bud.
That's fine. Oh, I'm not expecting you. If you guys come to the Panhandle, I'd be like, holy
Was that a hint?
but I'm anywhere to see these songs live. They feel like when I'm listening to them, I feel I'm instantly transported to what it felt like to see you guys live. I haven't seen a live show in a little while.
The only 0.001% of this record that's missing is what is shared with a live crowd. I mean,
Right.
there's no way to fully say the poems that Rich has wrote, the riffs that Jay has said. There's no way to fully do it unless we're spinning a cauldron of fucking insanity with human beings.
Yep. I want to see it. Those old shows that I think of fondly or a lot to me. Still to this day, I'm always searching for that feeling of how it was seeing whether it was Number 12, Sawtooth. I'll never forget those Olive shows. I think sometimes we were the only people there, the bands just watching bands. I remember that Molasses Tavern, it was weird ass shit.
Play with them in Connecticut.
They were Little Yellow Box,
Yeah.
they would play with the heavier bands, but they were like not screaming and shit. But they were fucking awesome. They were heavy to me. They were heavy.
It was an interesting time because you'd have nobody really belonged to a scene that was jam packed with a bunch of other bands that sounded like them.
Right.
You know, so you'd get all these hodgepodge bills, you know, all these different sort of configurations of very different sounding groups.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of special. I mean, I feel like it was really special. And
the
smaller and shittier the spot you could play, the better. I still feel that way.
My dream is to one day just do a giant documentary of like the Hudson Valley, New Jersey, Nyack, Poughkeepsie scenes.
Do it.
Like, you know, Sawtooth. Oh, a lot of shit. Everything, you know, bands. My favorite bands like Sawtooth, and you know, I loved When Dreams Die up in Poughkeepsie, who became Robots, who kind of now became Mind Force. You know? Yeah, like that Jay Pettigene he's a singer now for Mind Force, but he was a fucking crazy drummer who hit really hard.
They were very much like I remember When Dreams Die as proto, you know, like pre what was happening. You know, you could actually credit them as being like a little early in the game, you know. And those were big. They were really big into like Sons of Abraham. That was like their North Star.
I remember them. Yes,
like exactly. Sons of Abraham.
I remember them. I don't want to cause any drama, but I think they influenced one band in particular. When my friends and I can pinpoint the show where it happened, that they ended up kind of, I think in my mind, they took the When Dreams Die sound and then became very popular with it. And I'm like, because in my mind, you know, When Dreams Die, Sawtooth, they're the biggest band in the world. You know, in my head, you know, I think of, you know, I love a lot of stuff. I love a lot of rap. I love a lot of jazz and country, but Sawtooth is up there with me if I think of bigger, huge bands that the world knows. So when I think of the Hudson Valley, we were very, very lucky in that whole weird area we were in. I've seen bands super weird that Sawtooth exists, and at the same time I can go to a show and maybe see like a real straightforward, more hardcore band. You know, I don't know if the audiences always got along so well. Sometimes it was a little touchy, especially in New Paltz. I don't know if anyone was at those cab shows where lots of fights used to happen. But that was exciting. So yeah, at one point I would love to do like just a history of the heavier music, because I also hate the word technical, and I hate even genres now, because I don't think those really even exist. Everything is just so different now, and it's not as easily identifiable, definable, whatever. But,
I would like to gently encourage you to make the documentary and interview us for.
Oh yeah, I'll do another 10 hours. It's like I could talk forever, but I was going to do one more thing before I let you guys go. I was just looking at comments on YouTube.
Super healthy thing to do.
I love comments on YouTube. Hey, I almost solved the serial killer case by looking at comments on YouTube. So
while you look that up, I just want to comment to you, DJ, that my whole notion of what a bass player ought to sound like comes from a mutual friend that shares a birthday with Sprinkle named Keith Renali, who once explained to me that the ideal of a heavy metal bass player is a combination of Godflesh and the Beach Boys. And Keith Renali had one of the greatest sounding bass rigs I've ever heard in my life. He played with me in a band called Negative Hate, which is one of the other albums other than Mongrel that I'm really, really proud of. The first time I ever heard you play, you came to Buffalo, you were with number 12, and I'm like, there's no way anybody involved in this equation would ever know but me. But Keith Renali's dream bass tone has come true in the form of this human being, and I'm seeing it in reality.
That's high praise.
And I'm like, Keith Renali literally presented like an idyllic, like fantasy baseball league level Godflesh meets Beach Boys. And I'm like, the first time I saw you play with number 12, I'm like, that bass player, oh my God, that's the sound. That's the Bartolini pickup, Keith Renali, Fender in the attic, in that one rehearsal. Oh my God, this is my big bang moment from however long ago. I'm like, this young man is that sound. It just rocked me. And when I hear it on this record now, I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
This is like, if
Mhm.
Keith ever hears this, he'll literally shit his pants.
He's gonna love it.
You want to hear
He'll
now that
literally-
it's all said and done? Do you
and
wanna
now
hear
you're
a funny
opening
thing?
for Godflesh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Do you want to hear a funny thing about the bass tone on this album?
100%.
Yeah.
So when we first set everything up, because it was just me and Kevin, and there was like some crazy fucking noise. We couldn't figure out what was going on. He was like, something's out of phase. I don't know. Let me go in the room. So he's like, make as much noise, like white noise as you can, but don't play, because my amp was on like 10.
Oh my God.
And so I had cranked all the EQ all the way up and cranked everything up. And then he came back in and we started playing again. And I never turned the treble down. So like I have an 18-volt preamp in that. It's downstairs. My other
Meat smoke.
Vigier.
Oh.
No, in my bass. So the treble is all I've never. So like sometimes some of the parts like sound like I'm slapping. I'm not. It's just the treble is fucking cranked. But we were like, sounds pretty good that way. Let's just fucking leave it. Like,
Hell yeah.
here's one part. This is the first,
Yeah,
This is the first record that I did
gnarly
slap on.
moments space wise.
Yeah.
There's some
Yeah.
band of
No,
afterlife.
I'm super
shit,
happy
like you
with
said.
it.
Woo!
Oh, it sounds so good. It's so
It's
full.
like
Shane, I don't even know if you really heard.
no, Shane
heard
hasn't
that
heard
part.
any of the Kevin mixes
Oh,
yet. He doesn't
wait,
even
dude,
know about
because
any.
the part that we're referencing is somehow I think the
It's like a
tubes.
nuclear bomb
When I
in
switch
your
the
crotch,
channel,
bro.
it's like, yeah,
Oh,
you're gonna be.
I can't
you're gonna
wait.
be amped on
It's like
it.
it's like a gold-plated dildo right up your.
That's
Oh,
actually
man.
the cover
It's
of
right up your
the
pee
album,
hole.
right?
That's the thing. It's even harder.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm so turned on.
Well, I hope my
Um,
my wife is doing like a. She's also on Zoom doing
My
like
son is
a
behind closed
consulting
doors.
for somebody's.
Yeah, they're
for
getting an
somebody's
ear. They're
wedding.
getting
I'm
an
screaming
earful
at
of
my
you.
keyhole. Yeah.
They're getting an earful
Yeah.
of you. I promise.
You know, the other thing, you're gonna scratch your head about the guitar tone on this record because you're gonna be like,
Oh, it sounds so good though.
well, you're gonna be like, I know Jay plays tellies, but like,
Mhm.
what is the, it sounds better than it ought to. So part of why we even chose Kevin as our engineer is because Jay, Sprinkle he's a musician. He's not a gear guy. He's not. Dude,
I don't give a shit about all any of that.
He was homeless for 3 fucking years. He doesn't own like a Bogner fucking
Yeah.
right.
line.
I mean, I have some really nice gear now.
Well, yeah, you have wonderful gear now.
Fuck yeah.
But at the time, it's like Jay's like, well, if I'm gonna play for real, like I can't, like I can't also be become an engineer. I can't like learn. And I'm like, it's all good. I recorded Worse Than Alone at Backroom Studios in New Jersey, the Kevin Antrusio. I had best recording experience ever of my life there, although didn't love how the record came out. Turns out it wasn't Kevin's fault. He didn't mix it. But it was the greatest tracking experience of my career. And Jay, again, Sprinkle's like a little on the fence. I don't know. We get down there. Turns out, Kevin is a guitar player in his own right and very talented. You might have heard of some of the bands he played for. Knife the Glitter, the Dillinger Escape Plan. You might have heard of some of them.
Heard of
And
it,
he's
yeah.
been at the studio for 15 years and he has collected a boutique selection of guitar amps that are only modded out, kitted out to play aggressive heavy metal. And as it turns out, he's exactly our age, grew up with all the same influences, all the same affections for those same great records of like, holy shit, that was my big record when I first heard of somebody, blah, blah, blah. And now he's got this unbeatable, these like Friedman amps that are like, this guy got so good at modding out Marshalls based on that Candiria old school, like Brooklyn hardcore thing, that he just like started his own company and now makes them with his own last name. And so now we hook Sprinkle up and now he's playing the rest of these amps. And it's like, dude, this is legendary Godzilla shit right now.
Well, also
Crazy.
worth mentioning too, the Telly is like such an underrated metal guitar, especially if you have a loud fucking.
You talking
bass
about that
player.
brassiness? That
Yeah.
brassiness you were
Yeah.
talking
It gives
about?
me a lot of space.
Yeah.
Like instead of just having like
Mhm.
fucking loud ass goddamn humbuckers that take up a huge sonic space, like the Telly is like pretty narrow and it gives way
Yeah.
more space to the vocals and to the bass and to the other drums besides just the fucking kick and snare and whatever.
Right.
So, yo,
Thanks,
dude,
Jay.
thanks, Jay. But I have to split. So
Yeah, dude, sorry keeping you so long,
awesome.
man. Dude,
yeah,
it was a
gotta
real
be
pleasure.
somewhere.
Yeah, dude,
Thanks for
thank
having
you so
us.
much
And
for
me.
doing this.
Thank
And
you.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Thank
Wait
you.
till
Have
you
a good
hear
night, and I can't wait to hear it.
Beach Boys.
I can't wait. I love the Beach Boys a lot, and maybe even more than Godflesh. But I'm a huge Beach Boys fan. So, dude, I'm stoked to hear all the final mixes.
Without you.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. I'll talk to the rest of you later in the week, I'm sure.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So not to piggyback on the Brian Wilson Beach Boys thing, but Rich hugely influenced by that, and the whole album artwork that he graphic designed all stemmed from his love of the Brian Wilson era, uber psychedelic, uber risk taking.
Really?
Beach
Yeah.
Boys.
Have we never talked about the Beach Boys before?
I don't know that I don't believe that you and I have ever talked about the Beach Boys.
Oh, we got to get into that. Both of my children were born to the song God Only Knows. I played it for each of their birth as I caught them, and my wife walked down the aisle too, God Only Knows. The French horns blow down from heaven when they open that song. I fucking love that song.
Do you know who sings lead on it?
His brother, right?
Carl, yeah.
Yeah. It's fucking amazing.
He wrote it for Carl to sing. What a selfless songwriter. He's like, Carl would be perfect.
Did you see the Paul Dano movie that he did?
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, it's really good. That's awesome. I had no idea you were inspired by the Beach Boys at all. That's awesome.
Absolutely. So big Beach Boys guy.
I have seen the art. I think I've seen an iteration of the art. I don't think I've seen the final. It's freaking amazing.
So I think at the end of the day, what really kind of happened there, Jay can attest to this, because it really the sort of the inception point for it, like the beginning of all of it was this big illustration that we commissioned, to have done. We were kicking around all, back in the sort of like the beginning part of the process of writing. I'm starting to get into putting lyrics down. I'm not writing the tunes. I'm just writing. Like, I'm trying to hit these different concepts, and I'm overwriting. I'm writing more than what I'm going to need for each of the tunes. This is the weird kind of process that was really birthed from not being able to be in the same room with these guys at all, and being out of practice. It was just like, well, I don't know how I'm going to arrive at what I need to arrive at for these tunes. And when I started, writing, basically overwriting and stream of consciousness, and then chipping away and then editing myself and then writing and then editing myself, and getting these big bricks of text for each tune, more lyrics than I'd ever written for any tune, you know what I mean? In like this big note on my phone. I started getting into this headspace of like, well, this is actually going to be a lot about just like, life and being happy in your life. And it's going to be a lot about being sort of satisfied and being in a good place. And it's going to be initially, like I said, it had like a passive aggressive edge to it, but it started to become very earnest. At the same time, we're starting to kick around ideas of what's this thing going to look like? What's the art going to be? Jay and I were talking a little bit about, this illustrator that he really, really loves. I also enjoy. His name is Shintaro Keigo. And we kicked around the idea of, hey, like, would it be crazy to just reach out to that dude and see, like,
I emailed him. I just fucking emailed him. It's insane. You could just email people.
That's it. And now that you got a computer,
I got a computer.
Send an email.
So this is one of those things where, like, we had this back and forth. He just emails him, and he agrees. Bananas.
This guy
That's
has
so
like
cool.
300,000 followers on Instagram. He's just a legendary manga artist. And I just, hello, Mr. Keigo. Like, it just, would you like to, would you consider this amount of money for album artwork? And he's just, yeah, sure.
I will do this.
No problem.
Sure.
Wow.
So we're talking back, and we got Keigo in the bag, and we're talking about, like, what's it going to be? Like, what are we going to tell him? What do we want? And I apologize to you guys for this right now, because this guy does some amazing twisted stuff, right? Like, Keigo stuff is crazy. You Google him. I don't know if you're familiar with his stuff.
I'm not, no.
But it's warped. It's warped. It's amazing. It's excellent. It's outer limits. Everything about it I love. But I say to Jay in conversation,
except for our,
I was like, it has to be just children playing.
You got exactly what you asked for.
It can't be like,
you be careful what you wish for.
It can't. I was like, it can't have any sort of like weird like back end to it. There can't be a wink. There can't be any like hidden
Mm.
blood. It has to literally be like kids having a good time. That's what the artwork needs to be.
Mm.
And he nailed
Great.
it. And he nailed
That's
it.
great. I'm gonna pull it up.
And so to Jay's credit, though, I mean, you didn't throw me under the bus on it. I think you just asked him to do that.
Jay
And that's what he
delivered
came
that
back.
message with the
Yeah.
most sincere clarity and was like, Rich is highly specific about nothing other than kids at play.
Yeah.
No,
just
I
kids at
didn't.
play.
I didn't even need to. Like, he asked, like, well, what do you want in it? And I said, like, just kids playing. I didn't specify, like, not gory. I didn't.
Right.
I didn't.
True.
He just.
You didn't give him any don'ts. You just
He
said,
didn't
Yeah.
give you anything you didn't ask for, is what it is.
just give me kids playing.
Yeah.
It looks
And-
like how it sounds, honestly. Like it jumps at you.
Well, so
Because as
he-
a parent, Shane,
he turns around.
acknowledge what is more brilliantly chaotic than a child at play.
I mean, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Absolutely.
What could
That's so true.
possibly be more?
Because the whole world is happening at the same time with a child
Yeah.
playing. Like seeing your child come out with the thing he made reminded
Yeah.
me of my kids who were, my favorite artists, right? And seeing them it becomes so cliche, but when they sit down with watercolors or anything, I'm like, this is amazing. This is everything I wanted out of art, right? It's just
Yeah.
completely unhinged and not like beholden to anything. And it's just beauty to me. So yeah, that and maybe I'm always wondering with myself and my taste, like, am I caught up in the nostalgia of it? Like even with Sawtooth, like, am I just like thinking about the times that were so good? But then I'm thinking deeply. I'm like, there's a lot of bands from back then they don't resonate with me anymore. If I listen to them, I know it's pure nostalgia. I want to go back to that one spot real quick.
Because
and
you don't think of it. You don't
re-experience
think of it when it's gone.
Right, but with stuff like Sawtooth, there's very few bands that I'm like, I need to go there because I feel like I'm gonna learn something and feel something and be like experiencing something new each time I hear it. And that's also like the imagination. When you're a kid, you're fucking free. You're just free to do anything. There's no one except your parents. If you have to come in, of course. If you're a kid that listens, I don't know if yours do. Mine sometimes don't. But like that freedom, that imagination. All of my favorite artists actually tend to reference the idea of wanting to go back to the freedom of imagination as a child. Picasso would say something like that. Even Kanye, like there's always going back to how can I be free again? Because
You remember before when Sprinkle was saying that he's practicing, he's working, he's waiting for the riffs to come, and he's grabbing the good ones. He's an archivist. He's observing and reporting. He's just here to journal. I don't feel the weight of the world crushing on my shoulders that I need to create. I'm here to observe this wild. He's talking about that. That's a child at play.
Right. And even though and Jay, it sounds like it was like those are some rough years, right? But and I've had them too. We were squatting for a while, living out of a car for a little bit, sometimes with a kid, sometimes with cats as well. But if I had an idea, the idea was the nutrition, right? And it was like I didn't need anything else. Like that idea, it wasn't even done yet. Like the idea, it was just a fucking spark. But that would fuel me to be like, well, everything else would fall away. All the horrible shit of debt, not having a real place to live, all the shame that could come with it. And I was like, well, the idea now is my North Star and it will guide me out of here. And
you need a North Star. You need a North Star.
You have to. You can't crumple under. I mean, it's easy to. I understand. I've done it. You can be crushed by all of it, but I'm grateful for you guys and all of my favorite artists who, no matter how tough shit can get, you have that thing that can land in your head and turn it into something. But the artwork, I can't wait for people to see that.
I'm excited.
It brings me back to what I was saying earlier. Like, just I want to stare at it and listen. I don't have as much time to do that anymore these days. But
there's a new logo there. That's one thing.
Yeah.
And that was a byproduct of everybody. Again, it's a byproduct of people really, really liking this stupid death metal logo that I drew 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's me saying like, well, if everybody's going to harp on us having a stupid death metal logo, let me redraw it with my adult brain and make it good. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
Or make something cooler or make something better. Just like,
like the old school Negative Hate logo.
Yeah. Let me take
that was
a crack
that was a great logo.
A lot of scribbling.
Yeah.
you know, we got this art back from Kago, and it's just exactly that. It's just this beautiful art piece, but an album layout, it is not. So.
Oh yeah, I fucked that up a little bit. Like
That's not.
Yeah.
No, if you think in retrospect, you didn't fuck anything up because it led us to, you know, where we wound up, which is, you know,
It'll make a great
yeah,
poster.
sure, totally,
Yeah.
but like it wasn't for like 2 months after the fact
right
when we got something back, and I showed it to, you know, and they were like, well, did you send him the fucking layout? Like, did you send him?
and you're like,
Like,
what?
oh.
No, he just drew this big, sick, amazing piece. And so that's really where the Beach Boys kind of come into play, because I was thinking like, well, how can we turn this into a layout? Right. And at the time, it wasn't even decided that I was going to put it together. We were still going to kind of haul it off to, you know, like the label and let them kind of handle it. But like a lot of things that you should be seeing themes now with this band, where it's like, if we can go in-house with as much as we want, like, or as much as we can, we will.
That's the way to do it.
And so
it's gotta be a labor of love. It's like
gotta be
the only one that's gonna do it like that.
But I took that image that he sent us, that image, and I basically dropped it into literally like the Pet Sounds layout. You know what I mean? Like I put a big green bar at the top of it. I put you know, like I said, we'll get the album title on there. We'll get the song titles on the front, Pet Sound style. I was like, what do you guys think about this kind of vibe? And, you know, they were immediately responsive to it. And I was very happy about that. And then we whittled away and changed the color scheme and changed certain things about it. And, you know, it ended up being like everything with this band.
It looks like something you want to eat.
It does. Yeah. It's very appetizing.
I'm like,
oh man.
But it's got those as like the Pet Sounds is sort of like the skeleton of it, but it has so much more going on now that it's sort of where it needed to be. And you know, it's
it ended up like something you see in like a back alley in like Ningbo or like Shanghai, like in like a arcade.
Yeah.
Like that looks delicious. I don't know what anything is.
We have this
I want to eat it.
We have this vintage pachinko machine hanging on my wall downstairs. It's just like old school World War II era Japanese pachinko machine. It's on my wall. And I was looking at that for a little bit, and I was like, how if I could like work some of the kitschiness of this in? And like, that's what, I mean, essentially that's what it is, you know? And then I also got like, I got like a little kind of like, I got a little pissy about it too. You know, like all things Sawtooth, I got a little like, dude, you know what? I did the art for Cuddle Monster. People get that tattooed on them.
Yeah, I have a little spine anger.
Why don't we trust me? Why don't we trust me to do some shit? People get like Keith Rinaldi, who put that record out, Cuddle Monster. When he saw that artwork, he was like, "I'm not putting that out. I'm not putting it out."
He gave you a hard time about that?
He hated it. He hated it. Yeah,
it was so different. It was so
I'm not
different.
putting that out. Yeah.
It was so different than anything else to do that.
I said, don't you see, Keith? That's the point. The point is that you hate it.
That's the point.
That's the point of it. You know?
I'm excited to see the final product and look at it and listen to it at the same time. That's so funny at the Beach Boys. Even though Good Vibrations isn't on Pet Sounds, it's funny that the word good.
It was the single that they did after Pet Sounds to bounce back from Pet Sounds being a failure.
Oh, but it's so funny. It's funny they show it in that movie that Paul Dano did.
They did, yeah.
With Brian Wilson, I think it's in the beginning. It's kind of how Jay's describing hearing these things coming down into his brain.
Yeah.
Brian Wilson is just inundated with these voices, ideas that become Pet Sounds, and also born out of isolation in a weird way.
And
Brian Wilson.
Sprinkle's a huge Charlie Kaufman fan, and big moment in adaptation is Good Vibrations.
Oh man, Charlie Kaufman's one of my favorite writers of all time.
So good.
Sprinkle's a big Charlie Kaufman.
Oh man, adaptation's great. How do you say? Is it Synecdoche or Synecdoche? I never know which way to say it. That movie was
Synecdoche.
Yeah, that's a third way. Great. Now I have
there you go. Now you've got it.
In public, but
no. It's Synecdoche.
That's a fourth way. Now I'm listening to it. That's how I'll always fucking say it now.
That's the correct way. You go back and watch this, and you'll
real city in New York is Schenectady.
Yeah, that's Schenectady. Right. Or Scat and Toddy, as we like to.
That must be by a Walden. What's the name of the venue? Walden with the caramel floors. You know what I'm talking about.
That's right.
Sawtooth Grin. What's played there? That's pretty much there. That's pretty much in that town.
Yeah, that movie, that it's funny.
When I
Charlie
think
Kaufman,
of Schenectady.
Charlie Kaufman like really gets how it feels to create anything. Because adaptation and that movie connect. I can't even. I'm not going to try it again. Those two things are how it feels to create. Like if you suffer for it, I guess those I resonate with those movies a ton.
My impression is that you can't make anything worth a damn if you don't take some risks. If you don't expose nerve style, take some risks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
You will get more Insta followers, maybe.
Right.
But you're never gonna make anything that anybody will remember in 20 years, 50 years,
Right.
100 years.
I think
You'll never even come close.
The people who find the cookie cutter way of making something and they find the way of making it sound all quote unquote perfect, even though I don't think the idea of perfection exists, they might get immediate success, but I don't think they'll have longevity. And I think the things that you become these labors of love that have these little imperfections and they wear them on their sleeves and they take risks, those are the things that will last forever.
When you say organic, that's what I'm hearing.
Yes, that's what I hear too. That's what I hear too. Especially I hear, now I'm going to go back and listen to Rich's, even though I don't hear it, but thinking of Rich's voice kind of deteriorating in one way throughout the whole album, like the little fret sounds I hear.
Just mostly out of breath, I think.
No, but there's when I say deterioration, I mean that in a good way. It's like you're screaming for your fucking life.
Charlie Parker thing. They're right at
these songs, like
I'm at the edge. Yeah, I'm at the edge of the edge.
When you hear your scream alone at the end of that one song I was talking about earlier, like the centerpiece, Niagara Falls, it's a fucking monster. You're a monster. It's incredible. So
speaking of Niagara Falls,
oh yeah,
I need some clarity too because I need to get my bearing straight, my compass. So Sprinkle, you're saying that intro and outro riff, I'm really letting it sink in. That was not the first of that tune.
Yeah, no.
It was really that was really the first thing you had in that moment of lucidity where you were like, I need to get this riff committed because this is going to be a song.
Yeah, it was. Like,
where did you resolve that to in your head while you were having that moment? Like, what was going to be the payoff riff?
Right.
Or was it only you just had a moment of lucidity? You were like, this tension riff, the tension moment.
Yeah, well, there was a kernel of that rhythm that because I don't know, towards the end of our last attempt at doing stuff, Clowny had moved back down here.
Yep. And
me and Clowny were getting together and trying to like throw some stuff together, and there was like a little kernel of that like we had like kind of like jammed on a little bit, and so at some point later I just like sort of remember that and just started like trying to like fucking flesh it out, just kind of flesh it out. And then
the end of 2018 is when I first got that, plus the that's almost 4 years ago, and
that
it's
riff
like, all right. And he wakes up out of
good.
a moment of extreme self, narcissistic, destruct, dying misery to just like, wait a second, but this riff is here. And it's like, I always inverted that in my mind. I always thought the resolve came first, but it was the riff.
I think that resolve is the first riff we went public with.
Yeah.
But for you,
in a video.
How did that matriculate in your own psyche?
What do you mean?
Like, so first you sort of like make contact with the real world again, and then it's the when does the when does that hit for you? Because that is the center of the record. It's the middle moment of the whole album. And it's one of the most, it's DJ's favorite part. I know he's gone, but it was the first thing to me that you sent to me where I'm like, we got a new record happening. That's what we're doing now. Listen to this shit.
Yeah, I sent that to you pretty soon after I just kind of like I discovered it. You know what I mean? And then like the main theme came after that, and then I had the cool thing with these like you know, with the whole rhythmic section that we we're talking about, like having kind of written before, is that like that shit's like modular. So like that's there and it doesn't have any harmony or melody to it. I can move it around and do whatever the fuck I want with it. So like once these other ideas were there, I was like, oh, I got this whole other thing that has this like
Did that riff coincide with your, like, the impetus of your Bach sort of awakening? Like, were those two things happening around the same time, or did the Bach come later or prior?
Actually, yeah, maybe that came a little bit earlier.
Because I feel, for me, it feels like right at the same moment you had this like, oh shit, and now I'm writing these kind of riffs now, and that's what we're doing now.
Right.
And you're like, oh no, I don't practice the Borelli Lagreen gypsy jazz thing anymore. I'm not into that. I'm done with that.
Yeah.
I'm going back to the purity of just simple. It's when, for me, you started to switch from like a harmony guy a little bit into a melody guy. Seems like the same time, but I don't know. I mean, this Bach thing showed up, and it's your playing just took this whole new adventure.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't get fucking pretentious again, but like it brings about like the whole. My whole belief now is that there's just no difference between harmony and melody. If you know how to melodize, you can fucking imply. You could spell out chords melodically. You could suggest harmony with the melody. Like you could suggest, like there's moments where like I you know, in some riffs that are happening on this record where like the real, like whatever letter name you would apply to like that chord, whatever chord is happening, I'm not playing that note. I'm not playing all the notes. Like I'm not like, but there's way like, it's just why I love harmony so much, is because like you could suggest, if you know what you're doing with the nuts and bolts, you could suggest the whole picture just with like two little fucking things happening.
If you could say maximum spite and anger without actually saying it. You could just say like, yeah, man, that's cool.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
what
good.
you meant is, I hope you get hit by a bus.
You're a painter.
Yeah.
You're a painter, Jay. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the riffs are very visual. I mean, it's hard not. Yeah, it's really hard not to see things when listening to those riffs.
Tell us about the visuals.
Right, and then Rich, you're painting your own images, but it's like you guys, the sound of Jay's guitar and your lyrics and the voice, they just have to exist together. It just sounds so, it's fucking great. I don't want to say perfect. I don't believe in perfection, but I think the imperfections are what make things close to perfect. And yeah, these songs are so exciting. So when I was looking at these YouTube comments, I was like, I was so happy to see people, like I said earlier, finding you guys. Only in like the last 5 or 6 years, you've been, basically dormant, and they're finding you and loving you. And there's so many that I could go through, and some of them are mean too, but those are some of my favorites.
That's great. That's great. Yeah.
So we can start with a mean one then. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Got some lamb goat coming right now.
No, they just said Van Flip. No, this guy, Galaxy Drifter, 6 years ago said, this band is fucking awesome, but those vocals are fucking terrible and ear piercing. Jesus fuck, who thought this was a good idea?
I did.
Yeah, I did too. I love that. And that just makes me want you to be
excellent.
Yeah, it's so good. Okay, so there's only two. There's so many, but there's two others I had to read. This person said, I was wondering if you guys remember this, or Rich, you in particular. Oh my God, I met the singer outside of 7-Eleven in New Jersey in the early 2000s when I was in high school. I was making fun of him for being a scenester, and he told me to check his band out. Haven't heard them in ages. Do you remember this interaction? That's great.
I don't remember that.
And this is my favorite.
Big comeback though. You're like, you know what?
I got a fucking band that's better than all your favorite bands. Yeah. Logan Harris said this just a year ago. You used to listen to this nonstop in high school. I think I was looking at Cuddle Monster comments. Always on my headphones. We used to hang out behind this grocery store. We'd smoke weed there before class in the morning. One morning, the cops rolled up on us and busted me and my friends. One of the cops put my headphones up to his ear and goes, Jesus fucking Christ. That cop couldn't believe what the fuck he was hearing. He asked who they were. I told him, I think he liked it.
That didn't happen. That's not a true story.
Logan Harris, I guarantee he's gonna listen to this now. They were commenting on Cuddle Monster a year ago. Logan Harris, reach out to us and let us know. I want pictures, or it didn't happen. That's what they say.
Yeah.
We need to know who was the officer on charge. I'm gonna look up the police report. I'm gonna know what he thought. We'll get him on the next podcast.
Shane, every band these guys used to open up for or play with at those venues sounded like Hatebreed.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
Right.
and that was their fans, and that was it's like everything was just a Hatebreed or Scheidelud,
Yep.
or like Most Precious Blood.
Yep.
One King Down.
Okay, and I liked all those.
Madball.
I liked all those. I wasn't really a Madball.
But it's
fan,
like everything was taking itself so seriously, and it like had like an axe to grind. It was like we're not just out here playing music, man. We're like here. We have a message, and we're here for a cause, and we're like. And Sawtooth Grin was like the biggest middle finger right up the poop chute.
It was great.
Just being like, no cause, no point. We're just rocking.
Yeah.
We're just
What if we're just the craziest thing you're going to see tonight?
Right.
And that
To
was the
me-
whole agenda.
To me, and I'm going to say this after being the person who said it doesn't like genres, but to me, that was the most punk rock thing anyone could be. Right.
Yeah.
I think punk rock is beyond just the sound of.
It's
punk
not a
rock.
sound. Yeah. It's an
It's
attitude.
a thing, and you guys were doing that, and it was very inspiring to us. I don't even think you guys are much older than us, but I always just assumed you were, because you put out a fucking record. You guys were probably 16, 17 when you did Cuddle Monster, 18. I don't know.
Oh, I mean, it was
You were young.
20,
Okay, so you
21.
were,
Yeah.
just,
When I
just
was
under
21.
So then I was-
age, probably.
yeah, I was 15 and 16 then, and I was just like, I can't believe these people are even human.
Thomas would have been young.
Thomas was young.
Thomas
Right,
would have been
that's
the
what it
youngest
was.
of us.
Yeah, that's what it was. And but that to me was like, wow, you can do this. I'd like to take myself seriously sometimes, but I realized early on that I like things that could blend this. Like, I really take myself seriously because I'm going to put a lot of thought into it. I want to make, but I'm also going to be like lowbrow.
Right.
You know, whether it's David Foster Wallace or whether it's like At the Drive-In, whether it's Sawtooth Grin, and those are three of my favorite things.
High praise.
Yeah. So, dude, how long was this fucking show? Holy shit.
You say Buster Douglas?
Buster
No.
Douglas? No, but I don't know who that is.
I'll take Buster Douglas.
Who is that? I don't know who Buster Douglas is.
It's a
I should know
boxer.
who that is.
He was
Yeah.
he was a boxer.
I'm gonna put that on my YouTube list.
He beat Mike. I think he beat Mike Tyson.
Yeah, that's correct.
Was that later in Tyson's career?
Yeah.
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 Sick. Man, we didn't even talk about boxing. Could have done another 6 hours. But guys, congratulations on this record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's amazing. I'm very grateful. I've been wanting to I want to write a story about the Sawtooth Grin. I'm gonna do something. I have to do something. I wanted to talk to you guys about all of this stuff for years, as fans of yours, and I'm very grateful you took the time to talk to me. And I can't wait for people to hear these songs.
Well, thank you,
And,
Shane.
Oh shit, dude. This has been a lot of fun. I've been looking
The
forward.
record's
to this
gonna be
for a long time.
sick. The record's gonna be sick. Like we're just getting mixes like as we speak right now, and
Yeah, we just got the first Niagara mix today. Actually, we've been talking about it so much.
Every
Crazy.
emotional
Weird.
the emotional details have been considered. Like the engineer who engineered and is doing the mixing ended up joining this band. Kevin Tressian was like, you know what? When you guys play live, I need to be the.
Wait, really?
Yeah. He's joining.
Yeah.
Oh no shit. That's a big news drop right here, guys. You heard it.
Yeah, you did hear it. Here.
That's crazy.
So
He's
wild.
Kevin. So
He's
Kevin
awesome.
from Knife the Glitter and the Dylan Rich K Plan was just like, this music makes sense to me.
Shit,
when you play it live, I need to be there playing it.
That is crazy.
And I'm
so
like, so I'm hitting him with like, bro, this mix isn't about tech precision, like Sprinkle was saying earlier. This mix has got to hit like in the feels. It's gotta. I need people to headbang first and then think about it later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I already
come first.
You guys already played that, and I already feel that on the mix.
It has to compel steering wheel pounding
and
involuntary pedal headbanging.
I can't. That's so cool. Like Kevin.
So
It's coming.
the mix is in that stage right now.
Yeah.
The mix has
I'm
already
excited.
been flawless. It's been a gorgeous mix for like months, but the mix is in the final throes of like. But will you headbang?
It's
That's it.
it's becoming transcendent, is what it is. I don't have words.
We're right there. We're like,
I don't have words for what I'm hearing come back to us at this point. I'm just
Incredible.
so excited.
Incredible. We're so close to
gonna hit.
for seeing people react to it. I'm very excited for that to happen. And just go back to Kevin real quick. I mean, I'm sure everyone knows who Dillinger is, but
Kevin's in
Knife
the
to
band
Glitter. Knife to Glitter
Yeah.
was
Sick.
fucking
Oh, yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy
Super good.
band. They were great. Was that a 3-piece band?
Yes.
Or, they were
Yeah.
a 3-piece band. right? They were
3-piece
loud as
instrumental, better than Dysrhythmia, better than Behold Our
Oh.
Octopus, tighter, more
shit. They were
aggressive,
great.
heavier, wider, fatter.
Yep. I remember we played a show with them in a church in New Jersey with August Burns Red. It was our band. It was August Burns Red, maybe number 12, but we all played basketball together. And there was a stage, but no
Oh.
one wanted to play on the stage. And I remember just being like,
I still
right
don't
there
want
on the
to.
floor. Yeah,
I
no, it
still
was
don't
great.
want to.
I was right there with Knife to Glitter. I'm like, these guys are nuts.
Yeah, we
Nuts.
accumulated DJ and then Kevin. They were
That's
both
great.
like, I
That is so
wanted-
cool.
the riffs are too sick to not
That's
be.
so cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
he couldn't
killed it
not
in
play
Dillinger.
him.
Yeah, he killed it in Dillinger. I think I saw him. He must have. He was in Dillinger at the very
Played
end.
their last show.
Yeah.
then.
Yep. He was with
I
him.
was there. I
Big
was at
deal
that
show.
last show in New York City with Daughters, and that Code Orange I think opened. It was a really awesome, fun show. Demetrius was there and came out for 43% burn,
Demetrius.
which I had broken my knee to. Someone at the Chance Theater way back when. Someone jumped off the balcony and broke my knee during the last breakdown of 43% burn.
That's so sick.
And then I sat in the back room with the band Shat, who
I'm
opened.
sorry that you were the one that got jumped on, not the jumper. But
You know what? I didn't give a shit. Like it was. I love that. I love that Calculating Infinity so much. So I was like, it's all good. And I sat in the back. Shat had just played, and they were still wearing all their dildos. If you don't know who Shat is, I think one of those guys was in Dillinger or something. So.
Sprinkle has never gotten over the one time that Converge played and punched Steve Amato in the face.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, that's that's
Very
high,
nice.
high mark of distinction right
Yeah,
there for Steve.
Exactly.
I'd say so,
I would
yeah, definitely.
Exactly. That's that antagonism we're all looking for.
If there's one thing that our fans of old or fans to come can expect, I promise you, is that despite whatever anybody says in this interview, spite and antagonism are going to be the modus operandi
Yep.
of all upcoming releases and live performances. There's no
Good.
getting away from it.
Yeah.
You can't deny what these
they need it.
the
I
DNA
think
of what this band is.
I can't speak for
Spite and
everybody,
antagonism are a big part of it.
but I feel like when I meet someone else who knows who Sawtooth is and loves them, I immediately know that they understand that they also like spite and antagonism in many forms, and they typically like a lot of different stuff. You know, like it's not just they like fucking heavy or crazy or whatever. It's like
Right.
they might like the Beach Boys, they might like Bach. You know, like talking to you guys, they have a wide spectrum of love. And but there's something about being confronted by the art that makes me like really love it. It makes me think a little more, a little deeper. I like being, whether it's a painting on the wall, whether it's in my car stereo, I just like being confronted. I guess it's some type of memento mori. You know, it's like because that urgency about you got to make this before I die. You know,
Right.
Well said.
I got to enjoy this before I die. I think about that often. Of like, you could go at any moment. You know. And Sawtooth Grin, I got to hear your fucking record before, you know, and there's a lot of milestones throughout my entire life. Like, I need to hear this record. I need to see this movie. I need to, you know, I want to meet my children. I'm just accumulating these things.
We will go at any moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will. And I think that keeps people making great art and also makes people appreciate great art. So, yeah, I'm excited to hear these new mixes, guys. We'll have to do another 6-hour talk one day. But dude, again, for all of you, congrats. I'm so happy to even be a little bit part of hearing these things before they're out and getting to experience it. And I'm just a longtime fan, friend of you guys. It's awesome to see what you have done now with this. And I'm very, very excited to see and hear everyone's responses.
So grateful for your perspective and your friendship to this project.
Man. I appreciate it. It's always awesome.
Otherwise,
It's always awesome. Oh man, it's been awesome. I tell everybody, I'm like, I wear my Sawtooth shirt around town. Have you listened to Sawtooth today? I go to neighbors' doors and I proselytize, and they shoo me away with their brooms. But
Right.
yeah, no,
As they should.
but everyone out there listening, I hope you have a great Halloween. in however few weeks from now, you'll have a new collection of Sawtooth, and you will have your costumes on if you do that, and we'll hear from you then. Yeah. So, dude, everyone, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
It was a blast talking to you guys and hearing all this stuff. So, have a good night, and we'll talk soon.
Love all you guys.
All right, Shane.
Love it. Love you guys.
Later.
Love you.
Take care.
Later.